We are finally here. Over the past few weeks, the tension has been building for the beginning of a new dawn that starts today. This is the series that the drivers have asked for. The series that you, the fan, have been craving for. This is the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational Series. We are coming to you live from Sebring, Florida for the first of 10 rounds in what is the most anticipated series that has come to Australia for many years. I'm Priya Richards and it's my great pleasure to introduce to you our commentators who will be calling all the action, Jake Blackhall and Stephen Sandman Clark. Gentlemen, welcome to what will be something spectacular.
Thank you, Priya, and it's an honour to be here for the first round, the opening round of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational from Sebring International Raceway, Florida. I am Jake Blackhall. Joining me here is none other than the man himself, Stephen Sandman Clark. And Sandman, what a way to get us underway here at Sebring for an amazing supercar series that we have to kick off here.
Good evening, Jake. Good evening, everyone, wherever you're watching around Australia or even around the world. This is round one. It's race day. Everyone's been hanging for this. Everyone has been so much talking about this, looking forward to it. They've been pumped. I no doubt they've all been doing some testing behind the scenes, and boy, oh boy, they got their work cut out for them around Sebring International. So many quirks around this racetrack as far as the bumps and the different surfaces they've got to contend with, and the temperature today. That's even something they've got to take into consideration as well.
Yeah, we weren't expecting this, especially when we came into it here today, but Sebring International Raceway, we've got a 44-lap race ahead of us tonight. 17 corners around this very bumpy racetrack, as you said, Sam, and it's abrasive. The tyres are going to cop a massive amount of abuse tonight. 52-degree track temp. That is scorcher for these cars. It's going to put a lot of concentration on these drivers, especially for the opening round, and like we said, there's no drop rounds in this series as well. We'll touch on a little bit of the basis of the championship throughout the night, and obviously over the whole course of the championship. But Sam, man, that means you've got to start off on the right foot, and this just puts a lot more pressure on them.
Absolutely. The last thing you want to do is go into a series with one hand tied behind your back, and that's exactly what can happen, especially if you have a bad round. You know, it all can come down to pit strategy or having a bad race, but no doubt all these guys have thought about everything that can play out, but obviously there's so many things that they can't take into consideration, whether there's hard racing into turn one at the start of the race, a little bit of side-by-side contact perhaps, but absolutely, if you've got all your ducks in a row, so to speak, and you've got everything sorted out, you really want to make the most of round one.
Exactly, and that's the issue. It's like the 40 of the best supercar drivers are picked out together here and put on one racetrack. They're all going to be wanting to show what they can do from the get-go. They're not going to want to wait around. They know they've got a full championship ahead of them, and let's have a look at that. Obviously here tonight at Sebring for round one of the championship. Next month we head to Winton, which is obviously a new track to the service, but you can't beat Winton. That's going to be an amazing set to get that second round up and underway. Red Bull Ring, Monza, Spa and Hockenheim for the middle portion of the championship. Then we go to Sandown. It's coming. That is going to be electrifying. It is the start of the enduro season as well there, with the Bathurst 1000 right afterwards. That is the pinnacle, as you've said, of the enduro championship. Then we got Belle Isle, Phillip Island to finish it off. Bit of a tongue twister there to end the championship off, but these tracks selected perfectly for these supercars, and Sandman, it's just going to be one of those championships where the whole calendar just makes and breaks any of these drivers.
Absolutely, and how much excitement building for Sandown. How blessed are we that we're able to get a couple of more Aussie tracks onto the service, and we're lucky enough to have our V8 Supercar series to run on these. And for me, there's absolutely no better way to have an endurance series than having Sandown and Bathurst together. That's the tradition for me. I wish they'd do it real world supercars, but at least we can make it happen here on iRacing.
that's it. Now we can make it happen. We can show them what everyone's going to be missing out on. That 500-mile race, 500-kilometer race. I've been stuck doing NASCAR for way too long. Nothing wrong with NASCAR, but good 500-kilometer race there at Sandown. That is going to be, I think, one of the standouts of this season. But obviously here at Sebring, we're at the end of practice at the moment, Sam, man, and obviously we were talking about it before. It was Kostecki up the top. It's now Jared Filsell, but looking at how tight this field is, I know we said we selected the top 40 of the best supercar drivers, but there is nothing separating that top 10 at the moment. Only 0.3 of a second inside that top 10. It's going to be close already.
Mate, absolutely. And I was thinking too earlier when we were watching practice at the beginning, it's like, who's going to show their hand just yet? You know, is someone going to keep something in their back pocket for qualifying? You know, we know a couple of the names up the top. Yeah, you expect them to see up the top. But I tell you, when it comes to qualifying, I know these guys are probably scratching their head with the temperature and trying to get their car sorted and getting that balance right. But the race is all going to come down to tyre wear and how they can utilise that throughout the race. Obviously, it's not going to matter in quali, but race time, that's going to be crucial.
Yeah, race time's going to be the big benefactor here of what's going to make or break their races. And let's follow on from that 44-lap race tonight. 2 compulsory pit stops at the end of lap 2 and before the end of lap 42. So there's a good stint window there for people to be able to make their stop. We know it's about 4.65 litres a lap of the fuel burn. So it's all going to be one of those. Fuel's not going to be an issue, I don't think, tonight, Sam. I think we're more going to be worried about the tyres. We know how abrasive these tyres are. Some of the drivers have been saying roughly 18 laps and they need to come off those tyre sets straight away. So I think it's going to be more looking after the tyres, trying to conserve it. And I think that's going to be the big issue with the higher track temps as well, Sam, and if who can actually do that the best. They can go out gung-ho in qualifying and get a really good time, but can they actually manage that from the word go and try and prolong that stint to give them the best overall stint time?
Mate, absolutely. And I think what the drivers have been talking about too, okay, so we know that there's going to be tyre wears throughout different races, but I think what they've been experiencing so far in practice is they actually just fall off. So they know they've got a rough lap estimate of where they think their tyres are going to go. But if you go that 1 or 2 laps longer, they fall off a cliff and they really pay the price. And that's where an undercut can come into it because of the how big the deg is that we're talking about so far.
That's right, and the undercut I think is going to be the word of the night. I think we're going to bring that up quite often and trying to sort out how they go in that race of 44 laps this afternoon. But at the moment, still in practice, getting ready for qualifying. Any standouts for you at the moment, Sam, man, as we look towards that qualifying session? 20 minutes, no escape rule is in effect, so the guys have to make sure they do every bit out on the track. Any mistake could obviously cost them a lap time, and then they've got to go around again. There's a lot more that these guys have to try and think of in that qualifying session.
Mate, absolutely. You go through the names and you expect to see, I mean, it doesn't matter where you look. You know, this is a great field of drivers. So regardless of whether you're looking at the top or the bottom, there's good names up and down the board. What you touched on is, you know, putting together a lap around here. It's easy to make a mistake around Sebring. There's so many different bumps and things to take into consideration. We can see on camera now how much curb they're using. You know, they used to use ripple strips here. They can work for you, they can work against you as easily as well, because these cars can step out and get away from them. We look at the track condition. There's different surfaces that these guys need to think about. There's concrete, there's tarmac, there's bumps, there's rejoins, you know, so that is going to be crucial for these guys putting together a clean lap.
And that's it as well. There's 40 other cars out, or 39 other cars out there on the track as well, including the guy on the lap. So there's going to be traffic. It depends on how these guys want to play that, and who's going to look for the draft, who's going to try and get a little bit of a toe to try and move themselves up just that little bit higher in qualifying, so that they don't have to work as hard in the race. I think that's also going to be crucial, Sam, man, because you don't want to get stuck in a battle pack. You don't want to have to use the tyres if you don't need to get further up in the grid. I think that's going to be a key factor. You have a poor qualifying, and I'm sure someone will. Like you said, there's so many undulations, there's all the little bumps, the little curves, there's little errors that you can make at this track. As Burton goes to the top by a tenth and a quarter over Filsell, that's a bit of a statement straight from the word go, but that's one of those things. You get a lap and you move yourself up. You don't have to use the tyres. You can control the pace from the front. Some of those guys that might not have that, get that good lap, has to push hard in that opening stint and could burn the tyres out.
Absolutely, it's so easy to do. Like you said, you know, if you find yourself in a bit of traffic and you want to make your way forward, you hurt those tyres and you're shortening those lifespans, and there's going to be nothing you can do about it. because everyone's going to have in their mind as far as a pit number that they want to make it to go the distance on ideal racing. Ideal racing doesn't take into factors that there's crashes, there's safety cars, and everything else that could happen tonight. So many variables, and that's what we love about supercar racing.
That's it, and it's exactly why we're here. It's 40 of the best have been put together into this Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational, and another thing you touched on, there will be safety cars. There is the no escape rule in effect. That is a massive turning point, I think, as well for this championship, in terms of if that safety car comes out at any point, who benefits from that? There's so many different drivers in here. There's so many different teams that can play a different strategy game. We know they all can do it. It's who's going to play that strategy card right, especially when you need to. If someone's on already one stop, do you pit under the safety car, do you 2 stops and then run it to the end, knowing you're going to have worse tyre life? There's so many different variables, Sam, and I think we've got to take into consideration just as we're wrapping up with a minute left of practice before we head into the qualifying.
Quality's going to be interesting too, because like you said, so these guys have got themselves a 20-minute session. Do they quickly go out, belt out a banker, put something down, and then think about probably shaving off time, or do guys take it easy? It's going to be interesting because all these cars on track at the same time, they're going to need to find their own space. Space is crucial just to get that clean lap. They don't want to come across traffic.
Yeah, exactly. And traffic, I think, will be the big factor in this, and depends on how they're all going to go out of the pit lane. They're all going to be a hurry out of pit lane. We're going to see 40 cars virtually all go onto the racetrack. Jordan Ross from SSR Synergy Sim Racing come across the line, most probably starting a quick little lap for himself just to try and get himself in the groove, and that's what you want to be doing. A lot of these guys just getting practice in, getting their knowledge of what they need to do for qualifying, especially with the way how hot that track is. 52-degree track temp. I haven't seen that for a while. I don't know if you have, Sam, man. It's now 51 degrees out there, so it's dropped a degree, but it's still hot. It's still spicy out there for these boys, and trying to make sure and girls that they can get around this racetrack. And I think that's going to be key in quality. Depends on what that track temp does, if it drops or goes any higher.
Absolutely. And one of the things that, we touch on the DEG, how fast can you go on a tyre that that could possibly fall apart on you. So, looks like the checker flag's out for this session, so we are about to step into qualifying. This is where the excitement ramps up. It's round 1, first quality of the year, and we get to see who's going to put on pole. I can't wait.
I know, the excitement is building for us here, we're not even out there. Here we go, the opening round of the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational here from Sebring, and we are underway with the first qualifying session.
Look at him coming out of the pit.
Final one out. Obviously, practice, Burton, Phil Self, Kostecki, Hampstead, Myers, Warren, Brick, Galt, Berg, and Ross, with Anderson in the top 10. I think that's sort of who we're going to be looking at for that front row, but again, they're so tight. There's not much separating from that practice result session just then before. As we head into qualifying, they are all nose to tail, Sam, man, and out in front, Mr. Burton looks like he wants to be the leader so far.
It's one of those deals too, you don't want to go too hard on your outlap, especially as we've touched on temperatures and tyre wear. You want to get those tyres as best you can to the start line, as prepped as they are, just so you can put down that fast lap. So they are making their way around the racetrack, obviously not going too hard because you don't want to rub those tyres up the wrong way and get them too angry for the start of this hot lap.
Yeah, exactly. You want to just roll around, make sure you're not doing anything to overheat that temperature too much. You can obviously warm them up as much as you want, but not to the point of over inflation, and that would obviously hurt the tyres, and don't want to ruin them, like you said, Sam. But one thing that I have noticed, and I've just been brought to my attention, Madison Down, not here due to a power outage at home apparently. That's a big blow for Madison for the start of the champ. Like, he is, and I think you'd say as well, or your commentary on Madison Down and his career, he is one of those people that is always up there near the top. It's a big blow to his start of his championship.
Right, absolutely. And his statistics speak for himself. We know he's always a contender regardless of what we're racing and where we're racing. So, man, I didn't even notice that. We had so much going on in the commentary box as far as the excitement leading up to this event. I didn't even notice that. So that's huge. It's a scafing line, isn't it? It has huge
implications.
Huge implications on the championship. And it's only round 1, but we know he's a great driver. We know he'll be able to bounce back, but it's tough when you start on the back foot.
That's right, and that's the hardest thing, on the back foot from the word go. You've got to play catch up. It sits in the back of your mind. But here we go, the first lap starting here. Josh Anderson, in a tow from Jake Burton. I think that's really the best place you want to be. You only got one car in front of you. You know Jake's fast, and obviously you know yourself, your Josh Anderson is very quick as well. He's going to get that tow and be able to try and benefit from that little bit of a tenth or two gain that he can maybe get on Burton as they all stream through turn one. As Burton using all the curb and more, as always.
Yeah, and like you said, with the draft, that's crucial around here because there are so many long straights that you can capitalise on that. So enough that you want the draft to be effective, but not too close where it could, jeopardise the lap that you're putting down. But like you said, we saw how quick Jake was in practice. He put down a great time at the end of that session. So he's a perfect guy to be following for that draft because you know he's actually going to turn down a decent lap.
That's right. You know he's going to be pushing from the word go. He always does. And coming through turns 7, 8 and 9, now down into turn 10. It's one of the difficult spots, this sort of back half of the racetrack, making sure the car flows nice over the switches. Look at the track map too. That is a gaggle of cars. There is half the track is empty if you really want to get into that position right now. But at the moment, they are all in a train trying to benefit from each other. And I think that's one positive that these guys will look for as well, is that everyone in a train, you sort of know everyone's going to be fast. It's not someone that's going to be off the pace, so you can really get a good bit of a lead up into your first lap. But opening laps coming here as they come towards that back straight. Josh Anderson, I think you'll see him maybe pip Burton. All their laps have looked very good so far though, Sam, and I don't think there's anyone that's really put a foot wrong.
No, so far they look pretty close in the sector splits, and this is where the advantage of that total looks like a drama for someone else. That's Flock. He's off onto the grass. Maybe he's just made a mistake and done the right thing. We've just got out of harm's way. He doesn't want to jeopardise anyone else's lap, and if he did that, that's a huge hats off to him because the last thing you want to do is jeopardise someone else's run.
Yeah, he's done most probably the right thing. Had a mistake, maybe got a 1x and pushed himself off the racetrack to move off. So Sebastian Flock moving himself off the racetrack. Let's see what the first laps are going to do. Burton with a 201.6 straight to the top. Gardner's was better than Anderson. Went P2 for Van Devil Sim Racing right there up in. And Hobson goes to P4. Freer in 6 as that gets beaten by Ethan Crick Galt up into the top 5, and then Dane Warren. Is that, or is it Ethan Warren? One of the Warrens up
Ethan Warren, yep.
Ethan Warren, my bad. I've been watching too much European racing at the moment, but Ethan Warren up to the top 201.5, and as I say, that gets beaten again by Jared Philsell, who is right behind Brody Kostecki, so they obviously helping each other up there as well.
Yeah, that was a nice, you would have got a nice little tow there, but absolutely, you're going to see these times switch around so much because of that opening lap. Everyone's had their first lap in anger now. They've put something down. You'll see a lot of the teams will head straight back to pit lane, put on fresh tyres and think about going again.
Yeah, it's a brilliant lap there, obviously, by Philsell. 201.4 puts himself provisionally pole at the moment. Now he's just sitting behind Brody Kostecki. I don't think he'll be able to get a better lap out of this one. I think it'll definitely be maybe come in, throw some full set, brand new Dunlop rubber at it and go again, pardon me. He's got a little bit of damage to the left-hand side of his car too. Maybe he scraped the wall into turn 1 on his second lap as well. Wouldn't surprise me if he got a little bit too close to the inside wall, but now he's all over the back.
Probably just a little bit of hurry up, say, hey, let's get back to the pits. They'll probably put tyres on both cars, and then Philsell may help him as far as giving Kostecki a bit of a tow. Who knows? Because obviously Kostecki's a little bit further down. He's 12th at the moment, so it might be a little bit right. I've helped you. Now it's your turn to help me.
Yeah, and that's what I think they'll be doing. Just a switcheroo in the pit stop cycle, get back out and see what they can push on and move up there. But at the moment, current top 10, Philsell out in front, obviously Ethan Warren. Then we got Jake Burton, Wayne Seaberg, Andrew Gilliam, Brady Myers, Richard Hampstead, Griffin Gardner, Joshua Anderson, and then Ethan Greg Galt in the inside of the top 10. That's pretty much our antagonists that we thought would be up there. No one real names that have sort of decided to put up there and show their hand straight away. A couple of people that didn't get a sell lap time, obviously Sebastian Flock that we knew about, Kobe Jones, Benjamin Smith and Brad Ryan, they're the ones that haven't set a lap time at the moment. That could just be little mistakes. We spoke about a lot of these two in the pit lane.
Racing each other already.
Yeah, this is not the race. This is qualifying. Just want to reiterate that. We are not in race trim at the moment, but the boys acting like it. But now they'll get some full fresh new tyres and go back out again. As I think everyone has done that. So
absolutely.
First run's done. I think, Sam, we knew that was going to be the case. Now everyone going back out for round number 2.
Yeah, there's no substitute for fresh tyres, regardless of what the track conditions are like. You know, it's always good. You always feel a little bit better when you get to throw a new set of greens on. So, looks like these guys have already been in and out, and they look like they're on their slow lap now as far as building up for that next run. And that's the beauty of having these 20-minute sessions. That's probably the one thing that I find a little bit frustrating in real world supercars, that you get like a 10-minute quality, and you know sometimes that's only one or two shots at it, and that's it. So I actually like the 20-minute quality. It gives you, you know, a chance to rebound from a mistake, you know, whether it's yours or someone else's when you're on a hot lap. You know, we've already seen that a couple of people have missed the mark as far as laying down time, but that takes the pressure off. You know, 20 minutes, you know, you've got in your back pocket that you can really, you know, think about what you're doing and find some clear air, because you can also be on your hot lap when everyone else is coming into your pits.
And that's exactly it. You want to make sure that you've got that. Now, as these guys are, the antics have started, and as in everyone looking for that perfect position to get out of the racetrack. Jordan Ross, obviously, with a little bit of clear air hanging back from the rest of the field. But these guys are now just all on that warm-up lap. The 20-minute session, like you said, Sandman, I think is perfect. You want that. You want to be able to come in, get some fresh foods, go again. You don't get to see that as often. It's usually a one run and done, maybe two runs and leave it at that. Depends on if they can even get it, but these guys should get a couple of runs at it, be able to build their lap time if they need to build into a lap. You know, I know for myself especially, you got to build into that lap. You can't just, sometimes you can go out there and your first lap's your fastest, but sometimes you just need to get into the groove. These guys obviously, they will have done enough laps around here this week to try and get prepared. As Sam and these guys are looking in, massive trainers are on board with Jack Boyd from Synergy Sim Racing, about middle of this pack, and you can see them all just cruising. There's no need to rush. There's no one really pushing each other out of the way at the moment.
I'm a little bit surprised that all of them are as bunched up as they are. I probably would have thought that they would have liked just to have a little bit more space around them, because, you know, yes, you can predict what sort of lap you're going to do, but if you're in a bunch of traffic, you don't know what the guys 2 or 3 cars up in front of you are going to do. You know, the last thing you want is someone else to jeopardise your lap. So I know the draft is important. I know the tow is crucial around here, and that's what they're doing. But you've also got to take into consideration that someone else's mistake can ruin your lap as well.
That's exactly right. You don't want to be stuck behind someone that makes a mistake, as Hobbo goes into turn 1. That's right on board actually with Brenton Hobson on his lap. He's got a nice bit. Oh, as I say that, he's got a car coming out of pit lane. They're going to move to the left as he comes down into turn 2 and 3. Tight little complex this on the inside. Then we're going to go, oh, look at this bicep cam shot from Hobson. Oh, now we're talking. Turn 5. Uses on the curve. Nice on the exit, up through the gears, up in the 4th. Up into fifth at the moment. Now this corner, turn number 7, into the hairpin. This bicep cam, I like this. 250 clicks, down hard on the brakes, down into first. Is he going to short shift up the second? No, he's going to leave it in first. Right out, nice sort of control on exit. Down through 8 and 9 Fangio. Make sure you just keep the power down, flat to the floor. Another hard braking zone into turn 10. Done a really good job there. Oh, a little bit of rear brake lock, but he got it stopped. Did a good job. Able to keep the car steady. Third, fourth. Back hard on the brakes. Double apex right for turn 12, 13 out of tower. Now this is a long run, flat to the floor through the left. Actually, it might not. It might be a little lift on this corner here. Yep, there it is. Depending on how gripped up the track is, it's not as grippy as he would have liked. Third through turns 15 and 16. Now this long back straight, Sandman. This is where he's going to get the benefit of being nice and close in the draft. Up through the gears. Make sure he maximizes that exit, which he did a good job of. Now just concentrate. One more corner left. Sunset. The one that we all love and hate. There's a car on the inside.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
Oh, there it was. He's gotten through it. Yeah, I think it hurt his lap, but it was a good time to ride on board. There was a lot going on, and as it was going, Burton to the top. Where it's Hobson, he does improve to 11th, and then Ethan Warren again punches out another lap, pushes himself up to P1.
No, that was a perfect view to see that, because a lot of people may not know what the driver's view's like. That's exactly what these guys have got to deal with. That's how much view they've got. They haven't got perfect vision all the way around the car. Couldn't see too far in front, and then of course the car has a drama, jeopardises his lap, and now he's got to go again. And look at the time. We're already 12 and a half minutes into this. He's got to fire back to the pits. Obviously doesn't... Oh, fuel cell jumped to the top. He's improved on his top.
Oh, sorry to cut you off there, Sam.
No, that's fine.
Straight to the top. Again, he is on the money. Not by much, less than the 10th separates him and Ethan Warren. But yeah, like you were saying, with Hobson was on the lap. He looked very well done. It was very well together. Obviously, a little bit of brake lock into the back of the corner, but it definitely hurt him that last corner. And now he's sitting in 13th, half a second off. He gains a 10th and he's inside the top 10. So there's a lot going on there that could have helped him. As a couple of these guys now coming out to start another run. Greg Pavel in the Taipan Esports livery now rolling around and trying to find his own bit of room.
I'm just trying to dart all the way through the field just to see where people are. Of course, Brody Kostecki, who we saw up towards the top of the time sheet, he's still back in 14th at the moment. So Jared's obviously had a couple of good runs there. So I don't know if he's now going to try the tow train as far as trying to give him some speed in the straight line. I'm not sure, but slowly running out of time. 13 and a half minutes coming up to now, so it's probably sort of one more quick run and maybe if you're close enough to pit lane, maybe have another crack at it.
Yeah, I think it'll be as well if he can get a lap. He does his set lap now and tries to see where he goes, and if he actually ends up bottling the lap, you just come in and get a fresh set and go again. You sort of just risk trying to get that extra lap in. What are these guys are going to do as we watch Ethan Gringolf for Evolution Racing Team. He's in the pit lane. I think everyone's back in the pit lane for a fresh set of boots, and they're going to go again. And it's one of those situations where you don't want to be, I said this from the start, you don't want to be having to work your way through the field. Kostecki at the moment has got that on his plate, but a couple of these guys, there's a bit of a gap in terms of pace-wise. When you've got a half a second separates the top 10 at the moment. I think it's about where we've sort of put the seats in there. Could have been a little bit closer, but I think obviously some of these guys are just pushing that extra little bit harder and maybe making that extra little mistake.
Yeah, and nerves will be into it too. You know, you always think about, regardless of what series you're in, it can be one of the top tiers or it can be just, bumming around with your mates. You always get that little bit of nerves to creep in, and being round one that we spoke about as, as important is to try and make the most of round one and not start on the back foot. So nerves will be there, but now these guys they'll be in a groove now. Now they know that it's the last run. I think the guys that will be really stressed will be the guys that are right down the back of the pack. They know that it's important to punch out a decent number now.
Yeah, those guys down the back are going to be the ones that are going to want to push on as we look on Hayden Harrison. He's going to go across the start line to start one of his, most probably his final lap. It's so tight, I think, because the lap is so long. We're looking at over 2 minutes and 1 second lap times here. It's just a long lap, so you've got to make sure you get the lap started and get going. Kurt Stenberg all the way down in 31st there, man. That's a fair way off the pace. I think he'd be considering where some of his other TTR teammates are.
Yeah, and TTR red too. I don't mind that colour. That was around back when I was back in the day of doing some TTR racing. So love to see the new colours and some of these paint schemes that we've got in our series for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. They look amazing. It's so good to see some different schemes out there, and teams have tweaked with certain things, and it really looks good on track. But you're right. We're not expecting, we don't expect to see TTR guys back in the 30s.
Yeah, Kurt Stenberg obviously now pushing to try and get a lap in himself, to try and move himself a little bit higher up in that order, and he'll obviously have to play some strategy, I think, in the race if he does end up starting a little bit further back as we move up to Ethan Warren. He looks like he's getting ready to set up another lap, and who's your prediction at the moment, Sam? I'm going to throw it on you now. Who's your prediction right now?
No pressure, eh?
No pressure.
It's the old saying, it's harder to pick than a broken nose, mate, because we've got so many guys here that are quick and there's nothing in the times. Like, if I'd have told you looking at the practice sheets that, that some of these guys were going to be down the field like Brody Kostecki in 14th, you would have said I was mad. But, it just hasn't gone his way. So I would expect to see Brody have a good hard run on it now. It's so hard to pick. I don't know.
It's very hard to pick. It is. It's not going to be easy as these guys most probably start there. I think this will be their last lap. They won't get around unless they box this lap. If they know they've got an off track, if they know they've made a mistake, they can box this lap, come in, get 4 fresh tyres and go back out again and maybe just make the end. It'll be very tight to see what these guys can do. But Ethan Warren, he's done. So he's already rolled out of this lap.
Yeah.
He already knows it's gone. So he's not going to challenge for pole at the moment. Burton's still on a lap.
Now, it looks like he's gone purple sector 1 too, Burton. So
Yep.
interesting to see. He hasn't got too much time to find if he wants to jump up into P1. He's got to take down Jared Filsell, but he's also got to contend with a little bit of traffic. So as long as these guys don't nuff their lap, it could work really nice for him. Like I said, purple sector 1.
Yeah, he's on it right now, straight from the word go of this lap. And he's got a nice little bit of tow from Ethan Warren. It's a difficult lap to put together. He's done well there under brakes. No on exit, no sliding of the car. Nice on throttle application. He's going to, well, a little bit of traffic of cars slowing down and getting out of the way, which is good to see. Last thing we want to see is these guys getting in the way. Let's see, he's close to Ethan Warren. Ethan Warren moves over. Nice job from Ethan Warren to move out of the way. He knows that Jake's on a lap. Another driver off. I think they went through the grass. Yep, someone's just travelled the grass to stay out of the way, but they've done a good job of that. And now it's just a straight run from Burton. He does have one of the Evolution Racing Team cars in front of him. I believe that's Ethan Gold. It's a big gap though, shouldn't actually affect him. So he should be alright to finish this lap. But Burton looks like he could be on for a quick lap for pole.
Getting a nice tow down this straight. It'll be interesting to see if you can just get this last turn right. We saw how easy it is just to get offline and throw this car sideways. It's such a tricky little turn. This turn did my head in when I first doing laps around here. So it's not easy to get right, but he's going to try and get that tow. Can he make the most of it? He's in P3. Doesn't advance. He's still in P3.
Little improvement, not much. Gardner moves up into P number 9, so good job from him to move himself inside that top 10. Griffin Gardner, very established driver as well for Van Devil Sim Racing, so good to see him move inside that top 10. I think that's it for these guys. A couple of guys are rolling around. Maloney slow out of the sunset. I think he's setting up to go again. Yeah, building up to go again. So I think those guys have just finished their lap. They know they're done for the session, and these guys are still on another one. I think this is Maloney. I think he got Myers is in there. I think Hampstead's behind them as well. So these guys hovering around that top 10, they could all move even further up. And Kostecki is on an outlap, so I don't think he might be able to set up another lap, but he is still down. He's down in 15th at the moment, so someone to keep an eye on towards the end of this session.
Yeah, it looks like we've got 15 seconds left. How's he going to make it around? He's coming around the last corner now to see if he can start his last lap. It's going to be very close, 8 seconds. I don't think he's going to make it.
It's going to be I don't think he will. I think they timed this wrong.
2 seconds.
That's it. That's done.
Checker's out. So he's missed that one, unfortunately. So it's going to be a rough start for Kostecki. But the other guys that are still on a lap, they'll have a chance to try and punch out something as soon as someone can take down Jared Filsell, who's our leader at the moment on a 2:01.226. Ethan Warren. No, he's out of lap 2, is he? So it looks like...
out. Yeah, he's in the pits.
I think that might be it. I don't know. I'm holding my breath to see if there's anyone else lighting up the timing screen. I can't see that anyone else might be on top of it.
I think it's the only people that are really on that lap is going to be that Myers, Maloney. I think Hampstead was in this little group. I think it's going to be the only one. Maloney lost the rear, and that's easy to do. That was off of turn 13 Towers. I reckon he's hit the dirt on the exit, lost the rear end. So that lap's done for Maloney. So he's going to start 5th place. Just looking at a replay of that. Yep, definitely was.
Kept it off the arm, Gary. Good boy.
Kept it out of bed. That's all you need to do. So he's done a good job there. But I think that could be it. It could be to the opening round. I'm not going to call it because I don't know. Here comes this gaggle. This gaggle could be the one. Anderson's out. He's pulled over. So he's not going to do a lap here. I think it's going to be Myers, Hampstead. I couldn't quite catch who the last car was. It was a TTR car. Let's see. No improvement. Hampstead to 5th, so he improves. There's some improvement. And no one else moving up inside that top 10. I think that's going to be it. So the opening pole sitter for the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational, I think will be none other than Jared Filsell. I don't think these guys are going to have enough to get that gap down to be able to close in. I think everyone else back in the pit lane. I think that's it, Sam, man. I think that could be it.
Couple of stragglers, but I think that's it. We're just looking at Brenton Hobson's on the line now. He crosses, takes the checker. No advancement, so still in 14th. But that looks like it's it. Jared Filsell will be your pole sitter for round 1 of the Logi G.
He's going going to be the pole sitter for the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational for round 1 here at Sebring for 44 laps of action. And what a qualifying session to get us underway. I don't think we could have started that off any better. Brody Kostecki, man, won't he be kicking himself down in 15th? One of the pace setters in practice. He definitely was looking like he could be the one to show what he's got, but he's got a lot of work to do in the opening race of the evening as well. Lee Ellis, that was who it was that I saw him behind Hampstead. He's down in 27, so there's some work to do for Lee Ellis. Marcelo Rivera's around him as well. A lot of big names down that back of the field that are going to have some work cut out for them. Benjamin Smith as well down, Brett Loxton. It's just a massive amount of cars down there, but that is the end of qualifying, as we will run through those qualifying results quite quickly. Jared Philsell, Ethan Warren starting off on that front row with Jake Burton, Joshua Anderson, Richard Hampstead, Jake Maloney, Brady Myers, Tom Freart, Jordan Ross and Griffin Gardner rounding out the top 10. As we will head to our little special, we've got a little bit of a grid walk between myself and Sandman. We will be going through some of our drivers, and the first driver that we will be bringing to us right now, as we'll be able to catch on the grid, will be none other than our pole sitter, Jared Philsell. And I think as well, one of the big positives that we're going to have with this is being able to get a little bit of insight into the race as we head into the 44 lap adventure tonight that we're going to have going ahead of us, as we will get along with Mr. Philsell. We'll bring him into our room.
Sorry, Jake, it looks like I had a couple of technical dramas there, but I'm back now. Yeah, I didn't leave you in the lurch. Sorry about that, mate.
No, you're right. I was just like, I don't know whether we have him or not, but we will get him.
I got too excited with quali, mate, and knocked a button. But anyway, yeah, what a quali session, hey? And mate, I can't wait for this race. It's going to be a cracker.
Yeah, it's going to be a cracker, and we're just got to get Mr. Philsell up into our room. Having a little bit of issues with him, but we will get him here. We will just move him along.
So is there anything unexpected, mate? I know we were talking about so many different things, but I guess the biggest one is that we didn't expect to see Kostecki as far down as he was. No doubt that's something I could talk to Jared about, but definitely not ideal, but it's not something we expected when we looked at the practice times.
Yeah, definitely not something we were expecting for the practice times. It was a little bit odd how that was all going down there at the end, but here we are joining with Jared Philsell. And Jared, what a way to kick off your campaign here in the opening round of the Logitech G Pro Supercar Invitational on pole. How was that qualifying session?
Hello. Yeah, it was had a bit of action there, a bit of traffic dramas for Brody, which was unfortunate, but I managed to get a clean lap in there. Pretty surprised with pole, to be honest. I didn't actually chuck any qualifying fuel in it until half hour before quali, so yeah, must be a good dock.
Good dock there from the word go, then obviously here for Sebring. But anything is sort of looking out for the race? Obviously starting from pole, clear track in front of you, being able to concentrate on what you need to do from the start. Is it more just about managing your tyres? Because obviously we know the tyre day is going to be big here. You just got to try and concentrate on that.
Yeah, 100%. The tide deck's going to be through the roof here. Yeah, so I think as soon as anyone battles each other, yeah, they're going to pay for it. So I'm in the best position possible out front, and hopefully just drive off and not have to battle anyone.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the way to go. But congratulations on the opening pole here for the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational, and we'll hopefully have a good race. Don't get involved in anything silly, and see how you end up at the end.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Thank you.
The next one we're going to talk to is Ethan Warren. We're just going to drag him up into the chat so we can have a chat with him. And we've got Ethan here, so close to pole position, mate. P2 on the grid. Just interested to see his thoughts on how his session went, because the times were so close. Crucial to get a decent starting spot. And as soon as he gets in here, we'll ask him to see and get his thoughts on how that session panned out for him, because so many things to play out as far as getting a clean lap in that 20-minute session. Ethan, P2 on the grid, not a bad start, but so close for pole position, but you wouldn't be too disheartened with this start?
Yeah, thanks guys. That's a perfect start in my books, I reckon. Yeah, pretty happy to put a lap together there. I know the traffic was causing a bit of havoc for everyone, so yeah, to get a lap in and start P2 for the race is awesome.
Mate, what was the biggest concerns coming into this? Was it traffic? I know we're talking about tyre deg, the temperatures for this race. You know, what are the things that you sort of played on your mind coming into this quali session?
Yeah, definitely traffic's a big part in this. With 40 cars on the grid, you know, getting a gap is always going to be a struggle. And trying to keep the tyres on the car too for the quali lap is a bit, yeah, it's a bit, can slide around on you a lot because of the low fuel and high temp. But yeah, it's great to get a good lap in and start P2 alongside Jared, and hopefully we can stick with him.
Well, it's a good start, mate. We won't tap into your strategy too much, but obviously you've got some sort of idea of how you want your race to plan out. Are you just sort of gonna wing it and see how the start plays out, or are you going to stick with strategy?
Yeah, we'll see how the start goes and go from there.
All right, all the best, Ethan. You've got a great starting spot, and good luck for the rest of the evening.
Yeah, thanks guys.
And that was Ethan Borrow, now outside front row sitter there for the first round here at Sebring. We're going to be bringing in our 12th place qualifier, Andrew Gilliam. And Andrew, not the best, I shouldn't say the best, not the worst either. Starting in P12, it's got to be something you're going to be happy with. At least you're not down near the pack, but you're just on that outside of that top 10. Tell us about that qualifying session for you.
Yeah, well, straight into P5 off the first run, and that was no draft down the whole second half of the lap. So I just couldn't get a draft run in, really. That was the biggest issue on qualifying. So yeah, car pace felt really good. That first lap that I put in felt pretty good. And yeah, I think it would have been a lot more competitive with the draft. But no, P12 isn't too bad in a 40 car field. Still got a good shot, you know, in the top 10 pack.
Yeah, it's definitely not out of the question. You can definitely put yourself into that top 10. Draft obviously is a big key, and I think that will be a lot of people will be umming and ahhing over how well they went in the draft. But this race, it's going to be a long one. You're looking forward to this one. Obviously, opening round, the nerves. I think we'll be getting to a lot of these drivers. How are you coping with all that?
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It feels like a Scops race, sort of. So yeah, just with the Scops experience, I guess yeah, I'm not quite as nervous as maybe some of the newer guys who have only recently started making top splits. But yeah, definitely still a bit nervous. You know, it's a brand new series, big showcase. So yeah, definitely want to put on a good show for the team.
That's exactly right, and I'm sure you will. Starting from 12th position, Andrew Gilliam, and we'll massive congratulations and good luck for the rest of your evening as we'll move to Sandman, who will be sitting down with a 25th place getter, Chris Coxhead.
Yeah, Chris, obviously not ideal. There's everyone on the grid obviously wants to start from P1. You got your work cut out for you. Tell us a little bit about that quali session for you.
Hey Steve, I'm actually pretty happy to be honest.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're not one of the top teams. We're a small team. Brett and I have been doing a bit of testing. I was pretty happy with the session, to be honest. Got a good tow in there behind Phil Sell and Kostecki and one of the SSR cars, and you know, managed to keep it together for a lap. Qual set was a bit different to the race set, so we'll see how we go here. For me, anyway. We'll see how we go in the race. It's a long one. A lot of cars in front of us. So it should be fun.
Good stuff, mate. We touched on in the broadcasting qualifying how crucial that tow is. Is that something that really played on your mind?
Brutal. Yeah, just trying to, definitely that first attempt while the field's all compressed. Really important, I reckon. Once you miss that, if you're not in a big team, it's pretty hard to try and jump on the back of someone. But yeah, pretty happy that it worked out.
Mate, stoked for you to be on the field. A little bit jealous at the same time. I'd love to be in one of those cars taking part in this series. Looks like a lot of fun, and it's a long year ahead, mate. So there's still plenty of time to make your way up the grid. Don't be too disheartened. You said you were pretty happy with that position on the grid, and mate, keep it clean and go hard.
Yeah, cheers, Sam, man. Appreciate it. Should be fun.
All the best, Chris.
Thanks.
And that was our 25th place grid starter, as we'll get onto our grid as we look forward to the opening round of the Supercar Logitech G Pro Invitational. Jared Filsell, Ethan Warren off on the front row of the grid, with Burton and Anderson row 2, with Richard Hampstead, Jake Maloney in 5th and 6th, with Brady Myers, Tom Freer, Jordan Ross, Griffin Gardner rounding out the top 10, with Wayne Burke and Andrew Gilliam on row number 6. Sam, man, I think we're in for one of those cracking races ahead of ourselves as we look further on with that grid, with 13th Ethan Grigalt. That's a bit of a shock down there as well, with Brenton Hobson. Brody Kostecki, I think, is that standout shock, Sam, man, down in 15th. We look at a couple of other big names in Ford down in 19th, Kurt Stenberg as well down in 22nd. There's some standout names down there.
Maybe not ideal for the drivers, but I tell you what, from the commentary box, it's actually exciting to see some of those quick guys down the back, because it's going to make for some interesting racing, and then these guys have definitely got their work cut out for them. We keep going on about the temperatures and tyre deg. I want to see how these guys handle that position back in the pack, having to race forward, having to think about tyres, having to think about pit strategy. Do they want to try the undercut? All that sort of thing. So many things to look forward to.
So many things to look forward to, as we should be getting ready for a race start any minute now, as these guys will be sitting there getting ready after our grid walk, getting all prepared, ready to go racing. And there it is, green flag for the opening round of the Logitech G Pro Invitational. It's a good jump from Jared Filsell and Ethan Warren. They've gotten away nice and cleanly. The field spreads out into turn 1. Hopefully they can all get through cleanly, and it looks like Jared Filsell's got the jump. The rest of the field travelling through turn 1, and they are all clean so far.
Love it, a lot of respect through the field. Jared, like you said, got the perfect start. He just has to be eyes forward now, not have to worry about what's happening. And everyone has given out a little bit of contact there back in the field, but it looks like they gave it up. It was one of the TTR cars. But these guys very, very much giving each other just some room. They know how long this race is, and it's crucial that they don't get into drama in this opening lap.
Yeah, they don't need to get into any fights that's going to hurt them. Jordan Ross down the inside. He's going to be side by side with Andrew Gilliam, who we spoke with, started in 12th. They're going to give up the ghost there on the exit, but Ethan Grigol's going to stick his nose down the inside. He was still there. He should be alongside Andrew Gilliam. Hopefully they got clear, but Filsell, they're sorting themselves out. But Ethan looking to the inside. Whoa, I've got to say.
He gave him a ledge.
He gave him a
contact too. So a little bit of contact. I tell you what, the stewards will be looking at that. That looked like a little bit of nose to tail action. So obviously the car didn't go round, but it's cost him some positions. So the stewards will look at that. Looks like they're still throwing right on. There's big drama back too as well. More cars off. This looks like someone's almost headed for the barrier. Kobe Jones is involved. Unbelievable. Looks like they managed to keep away from too much damage, but implications at the start of this race.
Big implications. Start of the championship too for those drivers. Filsell's still out in front, just cruising, but wow, it was all going on down in the back of the pack. I think that incident will definitely be looked at by the stewards. There are live race stewards having a look. Who's got a slowdown? Is that Myers, or is that it's Warren? Warren with a slowdown. So that's going to cost him opening lap slowdowns are hard to clear, and it's dropped him out of that top 5 into 6. Sorry.
Yeah, crucially he does that straight away though. The last thing you want to do is have that hanging over your head and then get that drive-through penalty. So best thing to do, get over and done with. It's still a long race. Just get single file now and chase down what the pack is. But man, obviously not the start for some of these guys. Looks like there's been no damage throughout the field, so no one heading to pit lane. So that's crucial. All these guys can just be eyes forward now.
Yeah, concentrate on gaining positions, but it's Tom Freer, a little bit of a dab on the brake on the exit. He might be under pressure here from behind. He isn't. They're actually in their own little battle pack. That's Hobson, Brenton Hobson down the inside. Going to get that job done on Brad Ryan, I believe, and he's done so. So good move there from Povo. Moves himself up into another position, up into P18.
Looks like everyone just wants to get themselves into a rhythm now. Don't want to be too hard, too fast at the moment. A little bit of side-by-side action, a little bit down further in the pack. Looks like one of the TTR cars, one of the Logitech G cars. Someone's making a dive up the inside. They want to throw wide. Are you kidding me? That's the last place that you want to do that. They all managed to survive, but early days for that sort of racing.
This is lap 2, boys. This is lap 2 of 44. We have a whole championship ahead, and you're already doing this. Look at the move down the inside. It's Marcelo Rivera having a look on Lee Ellis. Ellis is run wide. He's off the rear. Yeah, that's off.
Yeah, he's going to rejoin. Be careful. Oh, lucky the other cars didn't nail him on entry.
He's done a good job of rejoining that. A little bit dangerous, but got it done. Out in front, Phil Searle's just having a lovely day right now. Out in front by 0.6 of a second over Jake Burton, but doing a good job. Him and Burton trying to stretch their legs straight away from the word go with Anderson behind them. They're just trying to pull a gap. If they can do that, they can then manage the race out in front and have some clear air.
Absolutely. Clear air is your best friend in these races, or any race actually, because last thing you want to do is be compromised. We've already seen some drama throughout the field, but with these guys, the benefit and the reward of starting up the front is that clear air, and they're putting it to good use. They just want to slowly put a gap on the field, look after their tyres, and go the distance.
That's it, and that's what they want to do. As we look at Wayne Burke right now in 5th position, Ethan Warren, he's going to be dreading that slow down, a lap one down, as Burke sets the fastest lap of the race inside that top 5. In the drive, shot here, curve cam out of curve 1. This would have to be one of the best curve cams, I'd say, on any part of any track. Right there. Whoa.
Has been documented in the commentary box. Like, how good is this?
That is an awesome shot right there through turn 1, straight away from the word go. We're bringing out the shots for this series, and that's the whole build.
Sorry, mate. It shows that just how, even though there has been some drama, that the field is still close. That it is strung out a little bit, but everyone's got their own battles going on throughout the up and down the field. Talk about battles. Burton's trying to chase down this gap. It's still, 7/10 at the moment. He knows it's still early days, but the best thing he can do is just stay on the back of Phil Searle, get a free draft.
That's exactly what he needs to do. He can manage it here. They will need fuel. They will need to pit for fuel. There's no question about that. So there could be a little bit of strategy in how much fuel they're going to put in the car. So it could save a little bit in the draft. Obviously, tyres will be the benefiting factor of when they need to pit. When those tyres start to degrade, they all know that that's going to be the big factor is the tyre degradation. But looking back here, Ethan Warren, I think he's going to be wanting to get around Burke and Hampstead as quick as he can, trying to gain on those times that he lost early on. He's doing a good job so far. Just managing that gap to the guys out in front.
And one thing I like that you touched on with fuel, people say, we talk about fuel. Yes, it's not a fuel race, but if you could save fuel, if you're in a position to save fuel, that makes your pit stop a little bit shorter. And that's where you can make positions.
Yeah, that's it. You don't want to be the one that overfills when you really don't need to, especially in this situation. Like we say, tyres are the key factor, but as that's a switch of position there between Kostecki and Ethan Gergolt, maybe Ethan with a bit of a slowdown penalty, just clearing that, letting Brody Kostecki through, who's already up into P9. He is on the charge, and we expected this. I think it's going to be someone that we have to watch out for, Sandman, through this whole race, as I think he's got his own slowdown penalty, because he's trying to clear one now, so he's now gone behind Ethan Gergolt.
Oh, so he just touched on just how much he made up that extra spot, but then having to give him away. Oh, very close to the back of Kostecki though. Wow, that was interesting. It was hold your breath a moment into turn 1, but these guys have got to be careful about these slowdowns, because that obviously it's crucial, especially at the start of these races when the cars are all together. It can cost you 1 or 2 positions, as we saw Kostecki having to give up spots. So, he's already working hard. He's already been up higher in the grid. Now he's starting to drop back a little bit, but all that work done at the start is starting to hurt him now. He's losing the right position.
And now that he's lost all those positions, he's got to work even harder to get it back. And like we're saying, tyres is our key factor. We're gonna beat on the tyres all day. I think it's just going to be one of those factors. But Kostecki, as we look at another battle pack further in the field, this is Ian Ford and Luke Mitchinson down the inside. He's got the job done. Luke has on Ian Ford. That's going to move himself up into P number 20, 40, not where I think he'd want to be, but he will definitely be able to make some ground from there, hopefully, with his strategy. We always know 40 likes to bring out a bit of strategy and always plays himself into races when he might be out of it. So I definitely think he's going to be one to watch for strategy this season.
Mate, with strategy, do you think anyone's going to be game enough to try an early stop? Well, I know like I said, we harped on the tyre thing so much, but I'm interested to see, they say Deg is bad, but is it going to be that bad where they can afford to take that gamble? I want to know who's going to run that risk down the path, whether it's worth it or not.
And that's the thing, have they all just been harping on tyre deg to make everyone think everyone's got bad tyre deg, and then they come out and go, no, I'm fine for 15 laps, what are you talking about? It's going to be one of those situations, I think, as well, that we're going to have to look on further down the race as we ride on board with Lee Ellis behind the Type N esports car of Greg Pavel. And I think as well, like we're saying, I think it's going to be one of those things that it's just, do they come in early? Do they try and get the job done as well? Here we go. This is on for P number 4, Hampstead. Big defend over Wayne Berg. Behind them is Ethan Warren. He's going to have a look. He's going to move this wall. He's blocked him. Again, heavy defense early on, Sam-Man.
Yeah, entitled to. I guess you can close the door a little bit, make it a little bit harder for them behind you. But, the last thing you want is contact. He's gone a little bit wide too. So now they're going to... I thought it was going to be side by side there. But Hampstead now able to pull up a little bit of a margin there. But, yeah, very close early on. These guys nose to tail. But the last thing you want is contact.
Yeah, last thing they want, down the inside. No, he's just blocked that move from Ethan Warren, but it could have been as well Hampstead. They be a little bit of a team game maybe. Just trying to put a little bit of a block on, just trying to control what's going on. Oh, he has a look.
And we can see the stewards have already started to take out, looks like car 177's got a 5-second penalty, contact with car 201. So we saw some of those opening lap dramas, so obviously the stewards have looked at all that and decided that a penalty was worthy of handing out. So a shame, but early days.
Yeah, so that's Ethan Gringold with a penalty, 5-second post-race penalty for him after contact with Andrew Gilliam, which we saw that, we saw what happened. So there was that contact there that obviously caused that little bit of an issue there. As we look at this battle, and Ethan, he's muscling this car trying to close up the berth.
And how the cars bump, you see them moving around when we were on board. That was a great vision, especially through that section, of just how much these cars do bump around. This track is very, very bumpy. We've spoken about the different surfaces that these guys have got to contend with, whether it's concrete and tarmac, but the bumps is something, especially through here. I mean, as a driver, I always found this part very difficult to get the car set up because you really want to carry this speed down the front straight.
It would happen to be one of the hardest corners on the racetrack, trying to make sure that you get that one 100% right. And Kostecki's in the lane, if that's correct. I think that's Kostecki's in the lane as we look at this battle. Ethan, look to the outside, he is. Wow. So Brody Kostecki in the lane. Is this an early tyre stop? We'll find that one out later when we have a look at the data from that pit stop. But look at this, Ethan Warren hunting Wayne Berg. He's going to have another look at this spot again. He's going to move to the inside, not going to get it done. He needs to sacrifice that move and try and set him up for the hairpin. I think that's his best opportunity. I get what he's trying to do, but I think he's not there in it.
He's going to try here though. Oh, he's going to think about it. He's gone late on the brakes. He's got position. A little bit of give and take into that turn. Oh, the slightest of contact. Maybe the bend of a mirror perhaps. But these guys giving each other plenty of room. It's Warren up the inside. These are going to be running side by side through the next turn. Who's going to give it under brakes?
Who's going to give it? Who's going to take it? And they're going to give the position back on the grass. Oh, he saved it though. Well done. Lost the position to Maloney as well, but he saved it and he can find another day. Wow, what a battle between Warren and Berkey as we look at a replay of that. And it was
watch this, how close he was to get that rear. Got on the grass, but that's sideways. But how lucky was he to gather it up? Because if it had kept sliding around the way it is, if he'd got that left rear on the grass, he would have been right around.
He would have done a full 180 and Maloney would have had nowhere to go. So, yeah, well done from Hobo. Good drive. Sorry, from Berkey. Sorry, they all look the same. Oh, Smith. Right on the curves, he's going to get that one done. He is. He's going to hold on onto that position and keep that one. Man, it's action straight from the word go, Sam, man. What is this? It's lap 6.
Mate, through that section 2, through that tight, twisty bit, there's so much time to be lost in game here. You can see on board with Jordan Ross. He's looking for a move up the inside. He managed to get a little bit of a toe. He's carrying tiny little bit of momentum. Is there going to be some give and take? He thinks about it. He gets in. He gets in side by side. Looks like these guys are giving each other plenty of room. The last thing they need is contact. It's a crucial quality to get right. Carries that speed and gets the job done.
What a move. Well done there from Jordan Ross. That is a clinical pass at that position. That's how you want to do it. Give and take from both of them, though, like you said, Sam, and got a job done. And there's
smoke. Was there contact?
There was contact in front of him. Who was that? I think that was Benjamin Smith. It was Benjamin Smith for Evolution Racing Team. He's regathered and he's got going. He was battling Todd Hayne, so I don't know whether maybe Todd Hayne gave him a little bit of a tap into turn 1. It could have been just that little bit of contact as we look back at a replay of it. It was! Oh, that's more than a little bit of a tap. How did he save that?
Mate, that was hard contact because it even looked like it got the left rear off the ground. So he definitely had his work cut out for him, managed to hold on to it, but I think the stewards may have a little bit of a look at that one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a little bit of a steward's inquiry into that one. A couple of places lost, please, and we'd like that back some way or another. But he's definitely going to have to fight now hard to crane those positions out in the racetrack. Sean, Matt Namara, as we fired right on board with, or look at right now behind them as well, is Brenton Hobson. There's Hobbs for grass. So we're having a look at this battle pack. This is for 15th and 16th at the moment, and Hobson, oh, what's he going to do? Is he going to have a match? He's just biding his time. And I think that's what a couple of these drivers are going to be doing as well, Sam, man. Just following on, biding their time, waiting for the pit stop strategy.
Yeah, look, it's difficult to make a move through that section of racetrack. What he wants to do is set himself up now. He's got a good draft. He wants to think, oh, looks like he may have got a slowdown. So is he pulling aside? Yeah, it looks like a slowdown penalty, unfortunately, there for Hobson. Now he's going to lose 2 spots out of that. So not only did he miss the opportunity to get the job done, but he also lost 2 spots.
Yeah, he's lost some time there, so that's not what you want. And slowdowns, like we said before, they're killer around here, and it's just enough to put him out of where he was in position. But looking back out in front, I just want to have another look at that. Vilsell and Burton, 8/10 of a second out in front right now. They have gapped Jordan Anderson and Richard Hampstead. That battle that was happening for 4th that we were talking about earlier has really let these sort of top 3 just disappear.
Absolutely, and they'll be loving that. You know, regardless of what it looks like on the broadcast, they just want to see daylight in their mirror. And if they can have their race run to the way they want it and run their own race, then that's perfect, because they'll ideally have, you know, a set of circumstances, you know, that they'll have. They'll think about what pit number they're going to pit on. They know roughly what they think the tyres will go to. So now that they've got clear air, that's when their strategy starts to play. And I know that there'll be minds back in those race teams thinking about, how can we jump the other guy that's around us?
Yeah, exactly, and that's what obviously Brody Kostecki did with his early pit stop. He has pitted. There will be a redress with car 151, so that was the incident we were looking at lap on that first corner. So there's going to be a redress between car 994, which is Todd Hayne, and Benjamin Smith. So I think he's trying to work that one in now. And this is the hard thing. You make that contact there, man, and he's dropped 4 or 5 positions. Now you're going to let those other guys go and then get behind him without losing any more positions.
Absolutely. You know, we see it a lot in Formula One. You know, if they think there's going to be an iffy decision, they almost let the readdress happen straight away, sometimes before the stewards intervene, because exactly what you said, if they lose 3, 4, 5 positions, then that hurts them in the long run. But whereas if they do it straight away, regardless if they get a penalty or not, they only give up that 1 spot.
Yeah, there we've got a good battle between Marcelo Rivera and Chris Cox, who we spoke about as well from the start of the race. Moved up a couple of positions right now in P number 23, looking at the back of that Evolution Racing team in that team Jinx. Oh, right out sideways, if I can quote Scapey anymore. Wow, he did a good job there off that curb. Now he's just going to not be looking at Marcelo Rivera and going to have except Jordan Ross, who has some damage on that front of that SSR Ford Mustang. Definitely not where he's going to be looking for, I think, aero capability out the front of that car.
Yeah, absolutely. That's crucial. You can see the right-hand front damage to the front of that Mustang, and that does hurt. You know, that's a shame, because that really does play into the hands of his aero package. So something that he will notice straight away with his straight line speed, and you know, it will just make him have to work that little bit harder, unfortunately, when he's got the advance of a toe.
Yeah, exactly, and from 9th down to where he is now, but this battle is back on between Hampstead and Warren. Do we need another one of these grandstands already? Like, we've already had one, but here we go, right on board with Ethan Warren. They are teammates. So how hard do they fight, Sam? And you've been with TTR, you know how hard they work, how hard they race each other. Do you think this would be a little bit of, I will give to you, he can give it back to me later sort of thing, or if you're faster, you go?
Absolutely. These teams will be like all the teams. They're in communication with each other, and they'll know, a little bit of drum there now. I don't know if that was netcode that made his car off onto the dirt, but anyway, that'll get Ethan's attention. But these guys will be in communication with each other, and they know how these cars are handling. If they feel that Ethan is a little bit faster, they will swap him around, but these guys are free to race as well, and it's the same rule with every team. The last person you want to hit is your teammate. So these guys will be in communication. They'll know what their strategy is and who's faster, and if it's beneficial for them to swap, they will.
Yeah, that's it, exactly it. We have that as well, unless you're our team and then we still manage to hit each other, but that's how that goes. It just is what it is. But yeah, and I think that'll be the case. I think Ethan looks a little bit quicker, maybe.
Maybe
I
he's
think this is
getting
that
the job done.
switch.
There
I
it
think
is.
that's that switch. There it is. So Warren now up into P number 4. He definitely looked just that little bit quicker. Maybe that little bit of mistake from Hampstead when, okay, look, I'm going to give up the ghost now and let you go in front of me, and we'll try and close up to that gap, because they have got a massive gap, 6.5 seconds to the race lead. That's huge. They've got a lot of work to do.
And they did it at the right spot too, because at that point of the racetrack, all that Hampstead had to do was just roll out of throttle a little bit. Then Ethan gets the job done, and then he's back in it. It doesn't ruin his rhythm too much. So a great place to get that job done, and now they'll just work on eyes forward as far as, thinking about when they're going to make that pit stop and think about that margin that they've got to chase down.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they're going to try and do. They've got a little bit of a gaggle coming up behind them. A 4-car train of Maloney, Burke, Myers and Grigol. So that little train, I think, could start to liven up a little bit. And they're not teammates. There's only 2 of them in the TTR cars. And as I say that, Myers, for a look on Burke, it was late. And he's going to give him a tap on the exit. This is going to give Ethan Grigol, who is behind them, a little bit of an incentive. There he is, right alongside. Here we go. This could be on for Young. And he's gonna get the position. No, he's still gonna hold.
Yeah, Ethan Grigol's it's gonna be side by side off the corner. Good give and take there. It's gonna be tough though. It's another right-hander, so it's gonna work in advantage of the TTR. But they were smart just to go single file through there, because it's really tricky. We've already seen that you make a little mistake, touch that grass, and it could be not over.
Could be very much not over for those boys as well, especially fighting that hard up, as we got Gilliam and Gardner about joined the fray. So this is becoming a nice little battle pack from roughly 7th on back, because they could close on to 5th and 6th, but Griffin Gardner currently is the back of that train. He'll just be biding his time, making up positions. He doesn't need to do anything. He's only lost 1 from where he started, so he just needs to float around. A couple of cars have come into pit lane, so I expect some people to come in at his lap 10. I think this could be the start of that first pit cycle. I think we'll see lap 10 to 15. I think will be the window of people coming in to make that stop.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too out loud, just thinking probably around the lap 15 mark, then that takes them to 30, and then 14 towards the end. So obviously these guys, everyone's going to have different tyres, the way their cars are feeling throughout the race, whether they're up and down the grid. So like we said, we already touched on a couple of drivers that already made those early pit stops. That won't benefit them in the long run. But it's something that's playing on the minds of the leaders, because they know it's crucial to have decent tyre life at the end of the regates. Because yes, you do make some advantage when you come in for fresh tyres and everyone else is on old tyres. We talk about that gain and loss that you have with the over and under, but you need something in the bank just to race with and fight with in the going laps.
Yeah, you definitely need that little bit as we go on Visor-Cam with Ethan Grigol in this battle. This is a great shot. I love this shot. This is a very well done shot for this. I can't wait to see this more during the whole year. I can't wait to see this at Sandown. I just think this is going to be awesome.
Well, this is perfect, because it gives you the driver's eye view. You see what sort of steering correction that they go through, what vision they've got, the mirrors that they use, as far as if they've got someone looking up the inside, trying to pick that apex, not trying to use the curb, careful on exit. You see the cars moving around. These tyres are nice and hot. We've already talked about how hot it is. Look at the correction that he's putting in. And he knows that if he brakes just that little bit too hard, gets on the power too much, or rides that curb wrong, it's not over.
And they are working this car. That right there showing how hard Ethan is working. These cars are not easy to drive, and as we say, that little bit of a battle pack again between Marcelo Rivera and I think that's Kurt Stead. On the outside, he's going to stay there. Now they're going to run side by side. I believe that's Jordan Ross behind him again. A little bit of damage on Marcelo's car as well. It is Jordan Ross behind with that beaten up front nose Mustang. Down the inside, Marcelo's going to with the switchback.
How good is that? The perfect move. I think he's been watching highlights from Scops races, because we've seen some beautiful passes through that. He did the over and under, got the job done, and now he's starting to gap him, but Jordan Ross is now making the move. That's the crucial part. When you make a move through that part of the racetrack, you lose that momentum down that front straightaway, and Jordan Ross has pounced.
Got the job done into sunset. Well done. Marcelo Rivera's gone for him. Most probably holding on, staying where he was, losing 2 positions in all of a couple of corners, and he's going to bring it in. Yeah, good decision, I think. You lose a little bit of time. Good time to come in, get some fresh boots and try and make that time back up on some fresh rubber. So Marcelo Rivera now in the lane, joined a couple of other drivers that have pitted as well. as well, we've got to discuss, there's no safety car yet, thank God, touch wood, it doesn't happen. But at the moment, these two out in front, Phil Sell and Burton, 6/10 is the gap. No safety car at the moment, sort of playing into their hands.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes, depending on where you are on the grid, you pray for a safety car. Not these guys. I mean, these guys know that they've got margin on each other. They've sort of got an idea of how strong each other's are in certain parts of the racetrack, and they'll be thinking about all that when it comes to pit stops. It'll be interesting to see how much longer they go. Do they risk staying out, or does Burton think about the undercut on Phil Sell?
Well, that's one thing that Burton could just be sitting here going, well, I'm saving a little bit of fuel, a little bit of tyre, depending on, obviously he'll be using his fronts a little bit more in the draft, but he's not as much. I think he'll be able to set his own pace off of Phil Sell. So now he can just sort of decide what he wants to do. If Phil Sell goes, I think you sort of got to follow. I don't think you can go one lap longer as he has a little slide coming onto the back straight. I think you have to follow him. I don't think it's going to be like, oh, go one lap longer and we'll try and overcut him. There's not enough pace. I don't think there is enough pace, Sam, for him to be able to do that. I don't think it's going to be one of those calls. I think you got to follow him or you undercut him.
Yeah, absolutely. One of these, you really want to be the first one to the pit. So does he think about this time, Joe Phil Sell? Not quite. You see the tight line that they have to hold, and it's even tighter when they need to get into that pit entry. So that's when you'll see when these guys thinking about their pit stop is that if they're too close nose to tail, the last thing you need is that guy checking up going into pit lane and you're not knowing about it.
Yeah, definitely. It's Berkey's in from where he was up inside that top 10, so I think Wayne Berg is now in the lane and he's going to be trundling down that pit lane on the pit limiter. Make sure he gets it stopped and hopefully he doesn't come out in traffic. It's going to be interesting to see where he comes out. I don't know how much time he's going to put in terms of fuel. That's another factor. They can put in as much fuel as they want. So there's going to be a little bit of a strategy play I think we've got to look at as well, Sam, in terms of how much fuel they put in this stop and how much they put in the next.
Absolutely, and we touched on that when you were talking about the idea of fuel saving. You can make those pit stops just that little bit shorter, but it's that pit lane, the time that it takes to trundle down pit lane and get the job done too. That's when it starts to play into focus, when you start thinking about where you're going to rejoin and how much traffic's involved.
Yeah, as we look at Brad Ryan currently in the P15th position with Brenton Hobson right behind in 16th. This is a good little battle. These guys obviously haven't stopped either. Brad Ryan's made up some spots, 23rd to 16th, but he's under pressure from Hobson down the inside. A little bit of a brake lock. This time no grass to help him around. Gets the job done. Nice and tight squeeze on the exit, but makes it work and now moves up into P number 15.
Say an extra layer of paint on that bumper bar. I think it might have been a different story, but the boys got the job done. And I love how you can see how the brakes are glowing in these cars too. That just shows just how much brake pressure they're applying in some of these turns. Very fast racetrack, but using a lot of brake in these tight, twisty parts.
Yeah, using a lot. Oh, a little bit of a look there, I think, from Brad Ryan behind, putting a little bit of a dummy on to see if he wanted to have a little bit of a feint, but Hobson's been around here for a long time. I don't think he's going to fold to any of that, and he's going to move on up. But a couple of our biggest movers as well that we are looking through this field so far. And there's just been some guys that have made up steadily, making up positions. We look at this battle between Ian Ford down the inside of Luke Mitchinson. He's going to get the job done, who has actually made up some position. No, he's not. Mitchinson's going to try and hold himself around the outside. He's going to stay there, and he's still going to stay there. Now they're going to run side by side down into turn number 1. This is all for a battle for just inside the top 20, 18th and 19th as they come across the line. As I say that, more people are pitting. And he's gonna, side by side through turn 1. Why are we doing this? There's no need for this. And 40's gonna back out and go down and just settle a little bit for half a lap.
That was brilliant. That was really good racing between those two, because I almost thought that Ford was going to have it easy, but Mitchison fought back, and that was a great battle.
Oh, it's 40. Lets the rear hang out a couple of times, loses the ground that he needed to maybe have a go at the hairpin. Gonna have to come back at him for a couple of corners next time around. But yeah, very good battle. Was not expecting, like you said, Mitchison to be able to put up a fight, but he did a good job, able to hold on and get that position back. And now looking further forward to try and see what he can gain. He's got a little bit of a gap to go through, but Phil Sell and Burton, 6/10 now, the gap out in front. They've now dropped Anderson 4 seconds back. That's a big gap already after 14 laps.
Makes me wonder, is Anderson just sitting? You know, he obviously thinks, well, you know, maybe it's probably a bit too early to run with these guys. There's still pit stops. There's still a long way to go at this race. Maybe he's just sitting. Maybe he's struggling. I don't know. But are you surprised with Burton's pace? Like, Philsell hasn't been able to drop Burton. I think that's pretty impressive.
Exactly. I was about to say that is very impressive from Burton. I didn't think he'd be able to hold on with Philsell this long, I should say that. I definitely know he has the pace to hold on with Jared Philsell, but just the pace that he's able to put up right now in terms of consistency, he's there or thereabouts, and that's all you need to be. This is a longer race, but you don't need to be, you know what I mean, any closer than that until last lap. So he's doing a brilliant job of holding his own, making sure he's got in the right thing. And you can't really say anything bad about Anderson there. As we look back, Ethan Warren, then you got Maloney, Myers, and Hampstead, all in that little gaggle of PTR cars. So I think he's doing a really good job so far.
Yep, I think if, you know, obviously we're not privy to what the team's strategies are, but you know what? If I was in the Burton camp, I'd be picking this time by and hoping that Philsell stays out. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. It's lap 15. For me, I'd dart in this lap, but it'll be interesting to see what lap he actually comes in.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think it definitely will be a deciding factor of what he decides to do this lap around, whether he comes in or not. 15 was our window that we were sort of looking at, so I think he could decide whether he wants to. There's a bunch of other cars are in the lane at the moment doing their first round of pit stops, so we'll see. I think it could be a good call though, Sam, man. Bring it in, get the tyres done, and then try and undercut him hard.
Yeah, be praying that Philsell stays out. That's exactly what I'd be thinking right now. If I'm in the Burton seat, in the Burton camp, I'm thinking, come in this lap. Hopefully Philsell stays out, and you know, it'll be interesting to check on the track map actually when these two pit, if they pit separately, just to see what the gains and losses are as far as who comes out, whether they're stuck in traffic, and see what that lap looks like as far as fresh tyres.
Yeah, and I think that will be the case of seeing who's out lap will be better as soon as they come in the pit lane and get that stop done. These guys are still hustling hard. They are not letting it up. They are pushing as hard as they can. The gaps are fluctuating between the two. There's nothing in them. There'll be a couple of tenths this way, a couple of tenths that way. That is the way of driving a supercar, I guess. You make one little mistake, you lose a tenth. It's not easy to be able to push at these guys' level, to be able to do consistent laps. Like the Jared Philsell, lap 10.5, lap 11, another 0.5, another 0.5, another like a 0.7, then another 0.5. Like they are on the money. These guys are the best in what they do with these cars on this service, and that's why we got the top 40 of them all here trying to race, and they both didn't go. They both stayed out. Let's see what they really want to do. Brent and Hobson right now, are these guys going to come here for SSC? Yeah, Hobson in the pit lane. Whoa.
Yeah, that's what I would have done. Now, that's what I was thinking what I would have done with Burton. Now, I'm no team manager, that's why I'm in a commentary box. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be interesting to see how these guys have their strategy play out. But I want to see the difference that these guys have on fresher tyres too, compared to the guys that are out there still on lap 15 with, you know, that older tyre.
Yeah, so a couple of guys have come in, and it's interesting to see those guys' lap times. They're roughly doing around about 202.6. It depends on what they're doing. 203s I've seen a couple of them do. Depends on traffic and how they're going around. So there is a little bit of a drop in terms of time for those guys that have done a pit stop, especially Brody Kostecki, who we're looking at now. He's back up into 17th. He is one of those guys that has stopped. So it's hard. It is very hard. I definitely think, like you said, Burton needs to come in and get his stop done. Kostecki is one of the longer guys on his tyres. 10 laps on this stint currently. He pitted very early, tried to get some clear air, but he's currently out there in front of Burke and a couple of other guys that have pitted. So he's done a good job to be able to gain that time back.
Yeah, love that strategy. Hats off to our team that have got all that data together, because like we said, we touched on the work that Kostecki's going to have for him, you know, pitting that early. Obviously, he's got some strategy playing out in the back of his mind. He may know what his pace is like on older tyres, but, you know, it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. But for me, if it was me, it's way too early to pick. But they know what they're doing, and now the focus is on these two. I want to see Burton in. I want to see if he comes in and tries the undercut. But it looks like Philsell staying out and Burton staying out, so they're going to try again.
I am very much speechless as to why. I get why, maybe trying to prolong the stint. You've got to make 2 stops. It is compulsory 2 stops, compulsory minimum of 4 tyres both stops. So you've got to put tyres on it either way. I don't I don't get why you try and prolong it when you know you can gain that couple of extra tenths now and know that the drop-off isn't going to be as bad. You've sort of passed that threshold of 3 equal stints, like you were saying, 15 come in on lap 15, come in on lap 30, and then you end up with a 14-lap stint towards the end.
Yeah.
We're already past that point. Now a safety car can catch you out in the wrong spot.
Yeah, but it's all about racing the guys that are around you as well. You know, they know they've got a margin on everyone else. So if the guys are a little bit further, like Hempstead and Maloney, where they're 8-9 seconds back, they can afford to stay out longer than the guys behind them. You know, if they make that gain, it's not going to hurt them too much. So they're thinking big picture. I can understand why they are kind of doing that. They know that they're racing the guys around them. But I think if I was Burton, I'd like to be in just to try and get that tyre advantage and maybe gain that position with the pit stop.
Yeah, exactly. You see Blake Warboys, Andrew Gilliam, a couple of other people were in the pit lane. I saw Ian Ford as well in there. So these guys now coming back out onto the racetrack. Ryan and Brenton Hobson, I believe that is, behind them. So, and Gilliam's gonna cover Brad Ryan off, and he will take that one on. Get those tyres up to 10 but try and pull away. That was a nice rejoin. Didn't really compromise either of them too much, but that's how close this is. Coxhead's moved up a couple of positions as well, and this is all just going to play out. This whole race, 44 laps, we're only on lap 17. We're only just in the first pit stop window cycle, so a couple of these positions will most probably change later on, depending on what they want to do for the next stop.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all strategy, and you know, if you had the winning strategy each and every week, you'd be a genius. But there's so many unknowns in these races, and like you said, thankfully we haven't seen a safety car. It still could rear its ugly head, we don't know. But I think on this track we're pretty safe. You know, there is a lot of runoff, and we've seen, you know, even when there's been dramas, there hasn't been too much contact with the wall. It is those tight turns that where people try to get the apex. You can see a couple of these cars are buffed up the left-hand side of the car. That's just trying to turn in and get as close as they can to those walls sometimes.
Yeah, that's most probably where that contact's happen, is usually turn one, maybe a little bit of a rub with another car as they go for a move. But a lot of these guys, we look at Rainer Costello with behind them, it's Greg Vavella, and I think that is Benjamin Smith as well. Looking to the outside, Nuttrop's back in. Had a little thing there. I don't think that's a passing opportunity, but you never know. Seems as Burton and Phil Sell.
Oh, change for the lead. So Burton's got the job done on Phil Cell. We'll have to check out a replay to see how that happened, but might have been a nice move on the brakes. I don't know. Let's have a look. So we're going to catch up some of the action down through the field, but boy, oh boy, you can see.
He's run wide.
Yeah, did Phil Cell just run wide?
It was very odd position. I think that's what's happened. He's ran wide because it wasn't something that we were expecting as we look back at
Locked the
this.
brake.
Oh, he's locked the rears?
Yeah, he's got a little bit sideways into corner entry, and then Burton's just, that was the beauty of Burton being so close. He was able to capitalise on that mistake from Phil Cell. Now, if I was Phil Cell's team, you pit him this lap.
Yep, you're in this lap regardless. You have to. You can't risk, I shouldn't say you can't risk it, but you were leading, you were controlling the race. Now you're not controlling it technically. You're in P2. You've now got Burton in front of you. Your space is filled up with another whole CV Commodore in front of you. I think you need a pit. You need to come in, get the 4 tyres. Now try and undercut him back.
That's
and
it.
get that position. That's what you have to do. You're only 2 tenths behind. Man, a little mistake. We weren't expecting it. Sorry about that. We would have caught it. But yeah, I was not expecting Phil Cell to make a mistake, and that's all it took. A little mistake.
Staying out
in. Oh, it's
Yeah.
oh.
But that's what you talk about. You know, these guys, yes, they're running fast. Yes, they've got a gap over 3rd place, but they are still pushing. They're pushing as hard as they can. They know their tyre life is starting to go away from them, but how close it's been within sort of half a second for the whole race. So we shouldn't be too surprised, but we weren't expecting just that little mistake from Phil, so but you can see just how much he's closing to the back of Burton now. He's obviously still got a decent car underneath him. It was only just that little whoopsie that Burton was close enough and able to capitalise on that mistake.
Yeah, now it's on. I think that little mistake sort of livened up the front too, because Burton now knows, oh, I've got the lead, let's try and pull away. Phil says it's like, no, I want that back, thank you. I would like that number 1 back. So this is going to be on, I think, till the end of this race. Let's see, no mistakes into the hairpin this time. The boys have cleaned it up this round, and now let's see if they can just keep going and push along. A couple of other people coming down into pit lane, as expected. We're still funneling through this pit stop tyre called Kobe Jones coming in the lane for SSR. He's going to bring it into his box, running inside the top 15 at the time. I think it's just one of those things where we're very much in that as Gilliam goes past him. So Kostecki's the lead car with a pit stop at the moment. He's currently in 11th. So he's done a good job, Sam, man, to bring it up. Yes, he's on, as we were looking at before, as perfect time when we bring up this strategy board. He's 13 laps on this stint, but he's done a good job to get himself back sort of into the fight.
Absolutely, and we talked about how early he pitted. Ideally, that wouldn't be great for some people, but maybe, obviously, we know he's a professional, we know he's a great driver, so maybe he knows how that car feels underneath him, and now that he's got that clear air and that he's had that clear air around him for all that time, he's probably able to make those gains where he's not caught up in silly mistakes and having to slow off. He can run his own battle and then see how it all plays out when these pit stops happen.
Exactly. I think another thing you got to look at, his teammate, Phil Sell, he's still out there, hasn't stopped yet. So we know the tyres will do, 19 laps on the stint. So he was only 14, so he's got an extra 5 laps if he really wants to play it as that battle was on. As we say that, here he is, Phil Sell in the lane. There we go.
And he's done all the undercut. So this is where we want to see how much time. Yeah, everyone's just said, right, bite the bullet. Unfortunately, Burton's going to go that extra lap, so that could hurt him. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. We've got the fortunate enough where we might even be able to look at a track map just to keep a tab on just those two drivers between Burton, because we know he's still out on track. He's on old tyres, so the benefit with Phil Sell, he's going to be on fresh ones.
Yeah, that's it. We'll see how long this stop takes. So Burton, Maloney stay out. Freya stays out as well. I believe that's Kurt Stenberg going past the lane right now as well. And I believe that's Jordan Ross trying to lead down the pit lane. And the other SSR Mustang, he's going to be coming down. So we'll see who comes off first. Here comes Kostecki. I think Kostecki's going to jump all of them. And Anderson's jumped also.
Anderson. I was going to say, Anderson's got a great stop there, but Kostecki's got the position as well. Anderson managed to jump Phil Sell, so that's a great move from Anderson.
Well done from the stop from them for obviously in Cool Drive livery, but it is also running for TTR, but good to see him running the Cool Drive livery out there, his own personal sponsor from the Aussie Racing Car Series. And now, what's Phil Sell do? He's in a bit of a gaggle now. It's back there. I think that was Myers side by side with Burke's on warmer tyres, I should say, not on colds, but here comes Myers has got the job done. That's Hamstep behind on the outside. Burke is going to keep it there, all late on the brakes.
Almost gave his teammate a run.
Almost got into the back of Myers, and that would have spelled disaster for TTR. They're still side by side, boys.
Yeah, he's on the wrong side too, so he's going to be able to hold that. He crosses over and covers the line. That was smart into braking, because if he didn't shut that door, he would have been dive bombed big time.
Yeah, he needed to shut that door. Obviously, Burke on warm tyres. These guys now getting their tyres back up to them. Burton has to
pit. Is he going to pit? Yes, he is. All right, so now, this is where we try and take my point of what Burton does and how far he comes out. Where does he come out when he rejoins? Because obviously, Phil Sell didn't have the fastest of stops, but we're going to sort of weigh it up against, I guess, whereabouts he comes out on, who he comes out, and makes that little gain, whether it hurts him or not.
Yeah, I think this is going to be where he needs to look as we look back at these guys coming down the back straight now. Burton obviously in the pit lane. Maloney has stayed out. Freya has come in, so one of the only people. Stenberg's in, so it nearly cleansed the field of their first round of pit stops. He's still in the lane.
Yeah, Phil Sell's now coming around the final turn. Man, it's going to be close.
It's going to be very close. He's still
in the pits. He still hasn't dropped. He's only just dropped now.
I think Kostecki will get him. Yep. I think they're all going to get him. Yep.
Wow, there we go. And that was only a one-lap difference. One-lap difference. And look at the difference that it made. And we said that Phil Sell wasn't even the fastest of the
got him too.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
So we knew the undercut was going to be powerful, but we didn't know how powerful. So, brilliant job.
Yeah, wow, brilliant job there from Phil Sell. Look at now Kostecki is leading. Technically, Maloney is out in front, but Maloney still has to stop. He was part of that battle pack, but I think he's going to drop even further behind Burton with the way that undercut has worked. But now, how hard is Kostecki going to fight this? Technically, he's leading this race. He's played the strategy well. Safety car will come out quite nice right now.
And this is what I talked about before when we were talking about Kostecki's tyres. He had that clear air. We didn't know what sort of advantage he was able to make, and it was obviously showed that he did be able to have that good pace, and it's brought him to the front of the field. Now what he needs to do, just defend for a little while, because he knows that everyone else is going to have to pit again. He is too, but if he can hold these guys up as much as he can, that'll definitely work in his favour.
I I thought Anderson was going to have a dive. I thought he was going to have a dive to try and get that move done. But the issue is now he's in a boost sandwich.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
He's in a boost sandwich that he can't really do nothing about. And now it's the point of, does he try and mess this up a little bit, or is Kostecki going to hold him up enough to let Phil Cell buy Anderson and then just let Phil Cell run off into the distance? I don't know how hard these guys are going to play it, but Anderson looks like he wants to get the job done now and get a move out.
Oh, get out, penalty! Slow down, penalty! No, or is it just pace?
Nah, slow down. I think it had to be slow down because he started to brake. As soon as he got off the corner, he started to slow down. Yep, and he's still trying to clear it. He might even give up another one.
Brutal.
Oh, he shut the door on Warren. He obviously cleared it.
No, looks like he's still not as quick as what he needs to. He may have got the job done now, but that could have been costly. That could be huge, and he still could lose another position. As we check pit lane, that's Maloney who's in the pits. He's getting his job done, but it's the 99. Oh, is he going to hold on to that position there side by side?
Side by side, curb cam on the exit, still side by side between Kostecki and Warren.
Burton's buying into it too.
Yeah, I was about to say Burton's come into this. Oh, is he going to have a...
Oh, he's fired up the inside. Oh, contact side by side.
Oh, he got it. Whew.
Now, Burton was thinking he knows he's on fresh tyres. He had to get the job done. The last thing he needed is to be held up by Kostecki. You know, we spoke about his tyre life. We already know about that. For him, it was crucial to get the job done because the last thing he needed was to see these guys get away. As we check out the replay, you can see Burton's in the position. He sees these two guys fighting it out, and he knows here's his chance. Gets on the power. He knows he has to throw it up the inside. Yes, he door bangs in. Bang, right there. Gets the job done, but he knows how much time he would have lost if he'd got stuck behind Kostecki.
Exactly, that was crucial position. That was one of those moves that he needed to make then and there, and he did a good job of it. A little bit of contact. It's touring car racing. Rubbing is racing. If you can't get around that sometimes, then what are we doing? But that was a brilliant move there from Burton. Got the job done, moves himself up, and now Anderson out in front with Phil Cell behind. How hard does Phil Cell now push on Anderson? They were able to build roughly around a 5-6 second gap over Josh in that first stint. So the pace is obviously there for Phil Cell, but now he's going to get around him, and Anderson's not going to make it easy.
Yeah, I think for the moment, you think probably Phil Cell will be content just to sit for a little while. Probably just see how this plays out. You know, they'll get into a groove with their tyres. They don't want to abuse them too hard at the start. He knows he's got a bit of a slipstream. You can see he's just sort of holding true there. Has a little bit of a look. He will move around in the mirrors because that's what you want to do. You want to annoy the people that you're racing around. You don't want to make it easy for them. So, and these guys have been around long enough where they know what it's going to be and how it's going to play out. So I think unless Phil Cell, he's probably just happy just to sit for a fraction.
Kostecki in the lane, that'll be for pit stop number 2, so he's going to try and go 20 odd laps on the next stint of tyres, is my guess. So he's going to try and do the same thing again, run it long, try and get as far as he can into the race and try and see where he comes up. Is now inside that top 5. So the field sort of starting to spread out a little bit after the first round of stops, but it will definitely close it back up, I think, once we figure it all out. But this top 4 is where it's going to be, I think, Sebring, for this next part of this race. Obviously the lead battle, and then this battle for third, Ethan Warren and Jake Burton. Burton, we know, has the pace. He's just going to get around a couple of other cars and get the job done.
Yeah, it was amazing to see how different it was. You know, we talked about that undercut and how crucial that would be. But obviously on that life, you know, he lost a fair bit of time. There wasn't much in it between those guys. They were nose to tail, himself and Phil Cell. And look, Burton's going to look for an inside move there. He knows he's got the tyres. Oh, another draw contact side by side. The officials will look at that. That's twice Burton's done that now. You know, obviously he did it with Kostecki, different circumstances, older tyres, but obviously they'll look at that. I don't know if there's too much in it, but definitely something that will bring to their attention, I guess.
Yeah, I think that one will bring a little bit more attention than the other one. The other one, I think he was a little bit further up. He definitely got there. If you look at the replay in the bottom right, I think he was there or thereabouts, but it was very, I wouldn't say late, but it wasn't something where you'd be like, yeah, I knew he was there. He comes from a long way back. He's not there, and now he's there.
It's close.
It's give and take. It's give and take. There's a lot of that in there. Yeah, we'll let that one up to the stewards. I think that's why we're in here. And look at Phil Cell. Is he? Yep, there he is. Hello. He is all over the map. Yeah, just a little bit of a push. Back to my NASCAR days, we'll be right. Bringing a bit of that back. But yeah, bit of a push to Anderson. Give him a bit of a hurry along. Trying to see if they can build a gap. I think Phil Cell knows Burton's coming now. that he's got him behind him. He needs to get this job done.
Yeah, there's not much in it now. Will he think about a move? No, I thought he was getting close enough, or he could have probably thought about an inside move. But that's right. That's probably smart with these two. If they can just sort of race on and not sort of concentrate too much behind. We can see that Burton is starting to close that gap. So it's 1.4 at the moment. Let's see what that plays out, over the next lap or two to see if he just starts to pull that in. Well, if he does, he's going to bring that train with him as well, because there's a couple more cars that are just starting to tag along on the others.
Yeah, a couple more just starting to tag along. If you look a little bit further back, good battle here between Chris Coxhead and Tom Freer, down the inside, got the job done into turn 1. And they made that one look pretty easy compared to what we've been looking at the last couple of laps. So, good job by Freer, moves himself up another position in the pit for 17 ahead of Chris Coxhead. And there is battles all the way through the field as we always move along. For Brenton Thompson, he is doing a good job now, currently in P12 with Blake Warboys right behind him. I thought he could have made a move there, but no, standing behind. A lot of these guys will be just in getting into their rhythm, settling into their second stint. Blake Warboys has done a good job from 24th up to 13th at the moment. That's a good stint.
Not bad at all.
Not bad. 11 position gains, 9 position gains for Brad Bryant behind him. So a couple of these guys moving up through the field. Tom Freer with a bit of a loss there as well on the 9th position from where he started. So not ideal from where some of those guys are, but obviously strategy is still going to play out with the second round stops, and at the moment these boys out in front, they're still having at it. And Anderson, Phil Sell got a way better exit. You can tell that his line was so much more concentrated on this straight to see if he's going to make a move. Is he going to do it again, or is he just going to bump draft? I think we're bump draft. We're in Dega. We're in the wrong track for this, but he's done a good job. Lands off him into the sunset, doesn't want to be right up behind him, doesn't want to make contact, doesn't want to have to do anything silly, so he just rolls it out a little bit, saves some more fuel.
Yeah, well that's it, and the push right there, and that's smart heads up racing by Jared, because he knows that these guys just need to, don't do anything stupid, My favourite line, and you're probably going to get sick of hearing me saying it throughout the series, is buying a ticket to the end,
Yep.
That is what's crucial for these guys. They know that there's still a decent amount of laps in front of them, and they don't want to do anything silly. They can see that the guys are starting to close up that margin behind them, and what was in the early stages a 2-car battle, it's now a 5-car train.
Yeah, it's closing up, isn't it? I think Burton's bringing the other two with him. Burton's got that little bit of extra pace, but sitting in the draft, you don't have to push as hard, but you can gain that time that you made 1 or 2 tenths just to keep you in the fight. We know they're not slow. Ethan Warren and Brady Myers are not slow by any means, so they definitely can bring it in themselves, but that little bit of help from Burton clinging onto the back of Phil Sell just brought them into the battle. So what we were talking about, a 2-car train and the two of them sort of pulling away, that has not happened now, and now it's on. And I think, like you said, I don't know whether Phil Sell's going to want to do anything. I think he's just going to sit there and wait.
Absolutely, and he'll be mindful of what the guys behind him do, because he knows that Burton's been able to close that margin. I think when I said it a lap before, it was 1.6 seconds. It's now probably he's closed that margin within maybe half a second now. So, and like you said, he's pulling the train along with him. So these guys will be focused on, there's these guys behind him, but what are they going to do? Are they going to be prepared to stay in the train? Are they going to want to ride, or are they going to want to battle? So that will be something that all these teams will be thinking about from now on.
I think it's going to liven up this front row and figure out what these guys are going to do for the next 20 odd laps. 19 odd laps left. I can't believe this race has flown by already. I thought we were still on lap 6, but we're getting there. It's flown by this race.
Oh, look at Jared.
Yeah, Jared.
He's just
He doesn't want to do anything. I don't think he wants to lead. I think he's actually happy with sitting there. He knows Josh has got the pace. He can just sit behind him and let Anderson run the own pace that he needs to do. He doesn't need to push any harder than he really has to, and save his tyres a little bit. So he's doing a good job.
I love this, mate. I'm enjoying that we've got this battle up front and this 5-car train, because, like we said earlier on, it looked like just a 2-car battle. It was out to sort of 4.5 seconds, but Anderson was thinking big picture. He wasn't too stressed. He saw that they gapped him by nearly 5 seconds. It came down to pit stop strategy, and it worked out in his favour, and here he is leading. So I think if I'd told you that was going to happen, you probably would have thought maybe that wasn't the case. But he's been very smart about how his race has played out so far. Hasn't got too worried about where the lead is at, and now he's got himself a nice little position as they think about one more stop to the end.
Yeah, and that's it. He's got himself in a nice position. Look at this. Top 5 cars up to 26 laps around this place, of all places, 1.7 seconds, because this is not easy, especially like we said with all the tyre deg and the way the undulation, a lot of mistakes can happen, a lot of mistakes can be unforced errors because of the way the bumps are and everything around here. And there is still 5 cars in the battle, and any of these guys could win. And again, we're going to consider Hampstead's only 4 seconds back from the race lead. He's just floating around in his own little bubble at the moment. There he is as we bring him up on screen. He's just floating. He doesn't need to be in the battle path. He can see them, as we can see. He sees the 5 cars in front of him. He's like, okay, I know that everyone's there. We can just chill and do this. As we get a message from race control, car number 66 has got a penalty of 5 seconds for contact. So again, a little bit of contact in the back of the pack that we have seen a little bit of it, not too much, but it will be interesting to see if they bring up anything to do with the other incidents we were talking about with Burton before, Sam, and I think the second one is definitely one that raised our eyebrows. But these guys in this battle, Phil Selden having a look, didn't think anything of it, just going to sit there, push again. We're going to keep an eye on it, going to have a look and see where Mr. Kostecki is as well. He is down in P number 31 after his second stop, so see where he comes out and what he gets to do with that.
Absolutely, and you see a beautiful Logitech G safety car that's sitting in pit lane. Thankfully, we haven't had to see it on track at the moment, so
It can stay there.
yeah, as gorgeous as that thing looks, yeah, it can stay there for the moment. And I know the front runners will be happy as that too, because the way that their race is panning out, they don't want to see this field all bunched up. They're happy the way it is. So the only thing that they got to think about is this man on screen, and that's Brodie Kostecki. He's brought himself right back into this race, and now it's all about preserving that tyre life to have something to fight with in the end.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's where we'd rather let this race go green. He did do a 2:03.2 last time around, so he's a little bit off the pace of these front-running cars. So interesting to know that, but he hasn't been able to gain it. But he was right in this fight. He was in front of him. Absolutely. So exactly, and Warren and them 2:02.8, 2:02.7. That's because they're in 2:03.0 from Hampstead's actually quite nice, considering he's just that little bit further off, knowing that he can just sit there and bide his own time. Their best laps, obviously, a long way off. 2:01.8 from Ethan Warren earlier on in the race, 2:02.4 Anderson and Phil Sell 2:02.3. So they're a long way off peak pace, optimal pace, but obviously that's when the tyres are good, maybe lower, a little bit lower fuel. But at the moment, let's see what these guys can do. Big battle pack, and it's just a big train at the moment. I think that's what these guys are just going to, like we've been humming and humming about. They're just going to keep focusing on concentrating on what they're doing. It's a little bit further back between Sean McNamara and Chris Coxhead in front of him, with Luke Mitchinson right in behind them.
Yeah, the one thing I love about this series and what we've seen so far is regardless of where you are in the race, there's a battle everywhere, up and down the field. You don't have to be a great battle to be first and second. These guys are racing for, 14, 15, 16, 17, and that's awesome. And these guys are really having a red hot go. You can see the car sideways just on exit. Each of these guys are pushing as hard as they can, and regardless of the result, you don't have to be on pole. We talked to Chris earlier, and he said he was chuffed with his position. He didn't grab pole position, but he set himself little goals. He knows who he's up against. He knows what teams are in this series, and if you can set yourself little goals and tick those boxes, come the end of the year, goodness knows where you could end up.
And that's exactly right. You've got to set those goals for yourself. Otherwise, what's the point in doing all this? You come in here and expect to win every race. It just doesn't work like that. I know for myself, you got to just expect what you can get and try and aim for those. And that's what they've done as Hampstead right now, aiming for P6 right now at the moment. But I'm sure he wants to move himself up even higher. He's just sitting here, biding his own time and doing a good job of it. He's able to manage his own race while these guys out in front. He just can sit and have this watching brief. Phil Sell with a look. Is he maybe getting a little impatient?
No, I think he's just moving. He's moving around.
He's just doing the supercar things.
That's right. He wants to just annoy the guys that that are looking in their mirror, and that's what you want to do. You don't want to make it too easy on everyone. No. And I think the thing that'll work in Hampstead's favour is that at the moment, yes, he's by himself. He's 4 seconds back, but that'll change quickly when these guys start battling, because he'll be in clear air. He'll be able to hit all his apexes, and he won't have to worry about these guys, tripping over each other and slowing his pace down. So yes, he's a couple of seconds back, but it'll work in his favour as this race goes on and these guys start to battle it out.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and I think he's just got to continue eyes forward, do what he needs to do, and look at this battle between these two, Anderson, Phil Sell. It is just a massive game of chess, and it's going to be a long game of chess. Lap 28 of 44 at the moment, and Phil Sell, he has a really good line through these last couple of corners before we head onto the back straight, and again, he gets a really good exit little bit of grass, but he's definitely got a better run out of that corner now, heading into sunset. Another bump.
He's going to go. He's going to go. Yeah, think about it.
Here he goes.
So he's had enough of sitting there. He wants to see if he can start to gap this field now, probably. He's done a few laps. He's probably spotted where Anderson's weaknesses and strengths are in this track. Now he's probably thinking to himself, right, I'll pull out. I'll see if I can lead for a little while and see if these guys come with me.
I feel like this is going to be a quality lap on old tyres to try and see if he can pull out a gap. See how hard he pushes in the turn one, just try and make sure that he can get the job done and clear a little bit of a gap between him and Anderson. Now does Burton try and have a go on Anderson? He's close, he's there. You can definitely have a look. A little mistake from Anderson trying to just concentrate on getting back into the rhythm. It obviously throws you off once you get overtaken. You've got to try and get back into that mojo. Okay, I've lost the lead and I now don't have clear air. So now I've got a car in front of me. I've got to try and pick my markers. I've got to try and focus on where I'm looking now, not looking on the car in front. But would always just have a little look and try and decide if he wants to make a move. But so far, no dives from Burton. And again, he's just going to sit behind in P3.
Absolutely, and we've seen him make those moves under brakes, and ideally that's what you want to do. You want to try and catch your opposition off guard, because we see ideally where you want to make that pass is when you get a draft down the back straight, make a move up the inside of the last turn and get the job done. But everyone knows that trick. If you can pull off a trick or two in different parts of the section, catch some of these drivers with their pants down, so to speak, get the job done, and catches them by surprise, and then that's when you start to make margin on them.
Oh, Mitchinson has Stenberg for company, looking all around down into the hairpin. He's going to give him a bump on the exit of the hairpin too. Just not going to give him any bit of space to come out of turn number 7. This is for P18 and P19. We were talking about this battle not long ago, but here they are all again. Behind them, Ian Ford sitting there in P number 20 as well. Just on the back of this battle pack, just trying to see what he can gain.
Absolutely, and through this tight, twisty section, I do love how the cars move around here, but sometimes on old tyres it catches you by surprise, and the last thing you want to do is ride one of these curves or get the rear off into the dirt. But so far so good for these guys. Line astern, just sort of hitting their marks, taking on the battles that they can when they can, because we're now getting towards the dying stages of this race, lap 30 or 44. So it's now coming into, all right, we don't want to make any mistakes now, because if we make a mistake now, we're not going to be able to make that ground.
That's exactly right. This is the mistake-free era of the race here on lap 30. You've only got under 14, 15 laps to go. You don't want to do anything that's going to hurt your races. Hobson comes in the pit lane. So I think this is our second of our second stoppers, I should say, down on the pit lane. And he was sort of hovering around that top 10. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Kostecki, because obviously Kostecki has done his first 2 stops and he was leading it. Ford's now in the pit lane. I think that is Marcelo Rivera as well for Evolution Racing Team. So a couple of the ERT cars coming down onto the pit lane, and we'll see whether this then means that how far of a gap does Kostecki have on the rest of the field in relation to where Hobson was.
Absolutely, and when Kostecki made his stop, I think the leaders had only done maybe 1 or 2 laps on tyres, so him sorry, I was too busy thinking about Kostecki, but Burton's got the job done on Anderson now, so he wants to go with Philsell. We saw at the start of the race where it was between Philsell and Burton. Burton see that Philsell's got the job done on Anderson, and he's done exactly the same thing.
Yeah, we're talking about pit stops, and here comes Burton again, always doing the move. So Burton, job done, up into P number 2. He's going to move himself up and now try and focus on Jared Philsell. Anderson now under pressure from Ethan Warren, I saw behind too. So good move from Burton, obviously he moves himself up and gets the job done. Now focus on Philsell. He's got an 0.8 of a second gap, which is what he sort of had that whole first stint, didn't he, Sandman? He didn't really have much more than that. So he's sort of in that realm as we look at a replay, and it was just down the inside of the hairpin.
Beautiful.
Oh, good job. You saw a little bit of a chirp of the rear brake as the car tried to swerve underneath him, but got it done and moves himself up into P2. And that's how you get it done. Nice, clean, cynical, and now he's just going to chase down Philsell.
The thing I liked about that too, there was a bit of heads-up driving from Henderson. I think he saw that Burton had thrown it in there. He's like, you know what, I'm not going to fight you for it at the moment. I'll let you have position. I'll get in behind you and let's see if I can run with you and chase down Philsell. So good heads-up move there from Anderson.
Yeah, really well done from there. Burke and Ethan Grigault come in. They were just inside the top 10, so they're now come in as well to get their first stop done. But Warren all over the back of Anderson. Let's see whether he now has a look down into the hairpin. I feel like that could be a move. He set himself up nicely on the exit. These guys are teammates, mind you, even though Anderson is running in the Cool Drive livery. That is his own personal sponsor. So don't get that confused with the other two behind him. Sorry about that these guys are all teammates battling right now. But again, no move from Ethan Warren or Brady Myers. And they're just going to all, I think, get themselves composed, so to say, Sam. And like you said, these guys will usually make moves on themselves. Obviously racing hard, race fair, but if they know someone's faster, they will sort it out themselves.
Absolutely, and it's a smart thing for all teams to do, because the last thing you want to do is fight within the team and jeopardise a decent result for the team. So, like I said, everyone will be talking up and down pit lane, and if they've got battles going on between them, they'll work out what's best for those guys, just so they don't hold each other up, so to speak.
Yeah, as we look further up, and then Phil Sell starting to pull that gap. Could he be just trying to break the rest of the field? He's just slowly got that little bit of a gap, now 9/10 of a second, but the draft is so big here, you can still get a bit of a toe down these back straights. The first time I've actually seen it between himself and Burton over a second. So let's see how they come down this straight. He's not closing, he's closing a little bit, not as much as you'd think, but it will get under a second coming into sunset. And now it is the game of when do these guys stop. Under 14 laps to go when they cross the start-finish line. It's sort of that window of making it to the end. How much fresh tyres do these guys want though at the end?
Absolutely, and if you haven't had the pleasure of racing in the iRacing series with the V8s, you know, there is a little bit of a margin behind that car that if you aren't within probably just sort of outside the 1 second zone, sometimes you don't benefit from that draft, but that's what Burton will be keeping in mind. He's still within a second. That's good for him. We saw how it played out for him, and what he'll want to do is the absolute reverse of what Phil Sell did to him when it comes to pit stops.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's exactly where he'll be looking as we look at a couple of the SSR cars. Luke Rosella and I think it was Kobe Jones in front of him. The guys are just outside of the top 20 at the moment. Just a nice little train, a little bit of a gap between these guys. These guys all just roll around. I believe these guys have, as we talk about stops, Luke Mitchelson in for his second stop. Brett Loxton, I think, behind him as well. So a couple of these guys coming down the pit lane, getting their second stops out of the way. And I think we're going to start talking about that at the moment. It's sort of looking like Ethan Grigol and Wayne Burke are the leading cars. Brody Kostecki is not now. So Brody Kostecki did lose out in his second round of stops.
Yeah, that's interesting. Probably caught us by surprise a little bit, but definitely worth keeping an eye on. Obviously, like you said, I'm keen to see what the difference is between the front runners and these guys, because that will be a telltale story towards the end. But more importantly, how much have these guys got in reserve to actually take the fight to them in the dying laps?
Well, that's it. And it's one of those things I don't even know how, like, where do you start? Obviously, Ethan Grigol and Wayne Burke, they were inside the top 10. They've done their second stop, and they've now actually jumped Kostecki. So it's one of those things of where do these guys now play into it? Obviously, Ethan Grigol was just biding his time, doing what he needed to do, and now look where he is. So he is the lead car that has stopped twice, and could Ethan play himself into this? I don't think he was there inside the top 10. He wasn't too far off the money, and I think, Sam, man, we could be seeing him inside that top 5 battle.
Yeah,
as we say that in the pits. Phil Sell in, Anderson in, Warren in.
Wow.
Now.
Okay, that surprised me. That surprised me, because I thought Burton would be trying to do that. So this may hurt Burton. It's happened to him last time too. He was the last of the front runners to pit, and he lost a lot of time. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. We see Griffin Gardner. He started in the pit lane as well. Smart thing for everyone now. It looks like everyone's going to be following suit.
Could this also have been a little bit of word from Kostecki going, Burke and Grigol beat me out of the pit lane, come in? Trying to maybe, like, you don't know
Absolutely.
what Kostecki said, and just come in, get the stop done, get yourself some clear air, and look at this.
Look how quick that stop was for
Yeah,
Philson.
that was good. He did all his fuel in the first stop. That's what he's done, and come out and look at
Massively.
the clear air. He has done what he needed to do. And that's the thing, there were so many different strategy games of how much fuel, obviously they needed fuel, but how much fuel do you put in the first stop, as that is a little bit tight between himself and Warren. And they're going to sort it out.
Yeah, and again, TTR teammates, these guys, but they know now they're in the dying stage of this race. So these will be sort of, all right, you guys have played nice. Now I guess it's time to battle on. These guys are going to be battling for position. They don't want to battle too hard because look at the gap. I'm dumbfounded at the gap that Phil Cell's got. But even here, side-by-side action, Kostecki. Oh, it doesn't get the job done. So it looks like that Hobson. So he's now going to start to pull away on Kostecki.
Yeah, if Hobson's got the job done at Kostecki, and he's going to hopefully pull away a little bit coming into the... Oh,
he's going to look up the inside.
Yeah, here comes Kostecki. He had a look. No, good, well done from Hobbo. Blade on the brakes, I think, and that's going to actually... Yep, he has. He let the door open on the exit. Nah. Job done.
I held my breath for a second when we asked him outside a camera shot.
Oh, here we go.
He's going to have a look at it here. He's on the outside for this turn, but if he can hold position, he's the inside. So to be the inside of Hobson. Oh, it's going to be close. No contact. Brilliant driver between Hobson and Kostecki.
Wow, well done from both of them. He could have shut the door on Kostecki, but he didn't. He knew Kostecki had a little bit of a nose there. If he did, it would have been contact. So he's done a good job. Left the door open just enough as Burton and Myers are in from the race lead. But Kostecki, we're going to keep on board as we look at Kostecki, see what he's going to do. Is he going to have another dive? He might just set himself up for sunset down into turn, into 15 and 16. Le Mans section. Going to hopefully set himself up for this long back straight leading down into turn 17 into sunset. And wow, he actually got a poor
It's his tyre life. I think his tyre life is starting to hurt him now at this point, and that's where Hobson's starting to pull away a little bit. So here's Burton. Burton's out of the pits. Fuel cell's gone past. So we'll put him into P2 by the looks of it for Burton.
P2 for Burton, and just not enough as there's Anderson. So the gaps have sort of readjusted themselves for what we had before the first cycle of pit stops there, Sampan, because that's roughly about the same gap that we had between Phil Cell and Anderson, but Phil Cell's gained a little bit in that second stint because Burton wasn't right there.
Wow, it's turned into a two-car race. Or you can see the TTR guys still battling out back there. But it is a two-car battle at the moment. So in these dying laps, it'll be Burton just using the tyres that he's got underneath him. He only needs to go another 10 laps, but the win is on the cards. Who's going to take out round one of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational? We're only 10 laps away from finding out.
Not long to go now, and it's closing down to the final stages, and now we've only got Hampstead out in front, and then a cleansed field will sort of be cleansed down, but these two battling right now down in the field as Hampstead, there he is on camera in the black TTR Mustang riding around. I think he'll have to go in this time, Sam. You can't give up any more time to these guys around you. It's one of those things where, as I see, is that Kostecki in the lane? Am I seeing that?
Looks like it, yes.
It is. Kostecki in the lane. I'm sure we'll definitely try and chase that up to you, but Brody Kostecki, after fighting in the top 10 as Hampstead has come in now from the race lead, looking to move himself up, and he's in the lane.
Yeah, I can't pick that. I would have thought he would have just held on to see, only with 10 laps to go, it would have been worth just chasing down just to see what sort of points he could gain, because obviously it's going to be pretty tough from back there to make up any decent margin, but there may have been some different issues for him to pit. I'm not sure. We might have to look into that after the race.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a look into that one after the race, and I'm sure everyone will hear about it all on the social media platforms from the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational. That is all that we have covered. As Jared Phil Cell, straight out the box, has gone and just punched a number out there. A 2:01.74, fastest lap of the race.
Pretty impressive.
That's impressive, straight from the word go. But look who's there. Look who's within 8 tenths.
And the margin, exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Within 8 tenths now. So he's really hungry at the moment, Burton. And we know that Burton doesn't need to save his tyres after this, after the next 10 laps. Put him in the bin. No one cares about him anymore. So use what you got, but make sure you got something to fight with.
Yeah, he just wants to use them all the way up to the last lap and have enough so he can burn them down at the end, I guess, if he gets this job done. So he is now pushing hard. That is a lap time for Phil Cell. That's a statement right there to come out of the box and go, look, I've now got clear air, I've got low fuel in this car, I've got fresh tyres. Let's see what we can do. Bang, there's the number. Chase it if you can.
Yep. And the battle between these guys, there's only a lap in it for tyres, so yes, there's a tiny bit of an advantage, but for all intents and purposes, they're pretty much even on tyre wear.
Yeah, there's not going to be any disparity there with tyre wear and everything that's going in that position. So these guys are doing a good job out in front. a Phil Cell Burton battle for the opening round of the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational. Luke Mitchinson has got a 5-second time penalty for contact with Lee Ellis, so that's another penalty given out from the steward. So obviously a bit of contact further in the pack. Luke Mitchinson was having a good race too back in the pack, so we'll see if we can bring this one up, and let's see what happened here. Mitchinson down the inside. Yeah, looks like he missed the apex into the door of Ellis, and around goes Lee Ellis.
Look, there's a bit more to that story, I think, because he saw him flashing his lights, so not sure what that was all about, whether he thought he was entitled to make the pass or not and just dive up the inside, but obviously the stewards had a look at it, didn't think it worked in his favour, so unfortunately he's handed a time penalty. But, it hurts his race, but it hurts Ellis's race too, so...
Wow.
Did you just see that?
I was about to say the gap was coming down to under 3:10s, but a 201.489 from Jake Burton, and that is what you call a statement straight away back. You want to do the fastest lap, Jared? Alright, I can go do one better. Here's a couple of tenths out of that, and now let's race. So 3/10s is the gap between first and second, and it's on.
Yeah, forget the stopwatch. It's all looking on the screen now. It's between these two guys. Burton obviously had a great lap, but also the benefit of the draft. So these guys will now just take it to each other. They know they're in the dying laps. There's nothing in it. Forget about the stopwatch. It's going to be crucial to see who can put something to get clean together and not get caught up. But look at these TTR guys. These guys are battling out for the last step on the podium. Brilliant to see these guys all battling out so close. There's plenty of give and take, but they all want to be on that last step of the podium.
That's right, everyone wants to be on the podium, especially for the first round of the championship. You don't want to not miss that one. So these guys are going to be fighting hard to try and sort it out amongst themselves of who wants that position. As we ride on board with Ethan Warren, right up top behind that cool drive Mustang of Josh Anderson. This Visor Cam, I can't get enough of this Visor Cam. I love this Visor Cam. We need this everywhere. This is amazing.
Yeah, this tells a story because you can see how much Anderson's moving around. Just got the left wheel on the dirt. This tells a story, paints the picture perfectly. You can see how much correction these guys are putting in, how much the car moves around. You really get that feel, the seat of the pants driving with these guys. You can see how much your competitors are moving around, how much that cool drive Mustang is moving around in front of him. He knows that where he is stronger and where Anderson's stronger, and that's just him putting together a package to battle with into the dying laps.
As a move for the race lead, Burton down the inside into Sunset and gets the job done. Wow, was not expecting that so soon, but he's got it done. It would have been the draft help down into Sunset, but he's done the work that he needs to do.
Coming back now.
Here we go, is he going to have a look? Oh, he thought about it. He thought about it into turn one. And now these guys are on for P number 3. Anderson.
Oh, is it 3 wide? Are you kidding me? No way, be careful. You don't want to cause drama in the last stages of this race. 3 wide into turn 1. Hold your breath stuff between the teammates.
Boys, they're all teammates, even though he's got cool drive on the car. What are you doing?
Oh, that's awesome. That's racing between teammates. That's what that is.
That was well done, well orchestrated by those boys to not make contact. Warren Myers up into the top 3 and 4. Anderson loses out 2 positions. Now Phil Cell, what do you got for Burton? Burton laid the number down, got the fastest lap, took the race lead. Now we've got SSR teammates going against each other. Phil Cell and Boyd down into turn number 3 and 4. They're going to be side by side. Phil Cell and Burton are still side by side. These guys are side by side. Everyone's side by side.
Brilliant stuff. Look at the move. Nothing between the cigarette paper between the 2 TTR Commodores. Brilliant stuff as these guys battle it out. And Ethan Warren's just there trying to hold on, gets the job done. Under brakes, side by side, still into the turn. It hasn't been decided yet. They're still battling it out. This could go either way. 3 cars battling it out for the last step on the podium.
These guys are fighting hard and they're going to keep pushing each other all the way, coming into the Le Mans section. Down the inside, he's got the job done. There's Ethan Warren, he holds off Myers, and it's all single file down into Sunset. But now the draft. Now the draft of what can Brady Myers do? Is he going to have a look? Does Josh Anderson get a bit of an overrun? We saw what happened last time around when they went 3 wide into turn 1. Here comes Myers. Phil Cell and Burton are still swapping positions.
I think they swapped again. Yeah,
they swapped again. So Phil Cell took it back. Now Burton's taking it back. These guys are fighting for the race lead. We've got lights everywhere, but Burton back to the race lead.
Well, we missed that. Sorry about that, guys. So much action happening in the closing stages of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. The battle's thick and fast for third, but this battle between first and second, between Burton and Philsell, these guys are swapping lap for lap. There's nothing in it. Burton needs to push on and get away and try and gap Philsell, but it's important that Philsell doesn't push too hard. He needs to get the jobs done because the last thing you want to do is fry these rear tyres.
Yeah, he needs to calm it down a little bit, I think. I think he needs to cruise for a lap, try and concentrate on just trying to conserve a little bit. These guys aren't going to conserve. What am I talking about? These guys are the best. They're going to push hard. They're going to find each other. Oh, was that a little bit of a rear brake?
Yeah, that was sideways.
There was. Now, Philsell, that'll lighten his arms up. Okay, he's struggling a little bit with rear brake locking. Maybe I can push him a little bit harder into the brakes. Try and get him to make a little bit... Oh, he had a switch time!
Beautiful stuff from Philsell. He put the fake on him. He dodged to one side, fired it up the inside, a little bit of nose-to-tail contact. Burton gives him the what for. These guys know they're battling it out of the dying laps of the Supercars in Pro Invitational.
These guys are on it. They are not giving each other an inch. There's a little bit of a slide that he had out of turn number 13, and he got the job done. Now, will Burton have another look? I think he's going to set himself up for sunset again.
Absolutely.
He's done that every lap so far. He set himself up for sunset. If he do it again...
Pace is good.
Yeah, they've got pace on each other. I feel like none of them want to lead. As soon as they lead, the other guy has a pace advantage, and here comes Burton again. Will we have another look down into sunset, turn number 17, this long back straight? Look at this.
He's got pace.
He's got pace. He's got the draft. He's got the inside line. And Philsell's going to be like this all over again. How do I defend from this? He's going to defend it though this time.
Side by side through the final turn as they come onto the front straight. Last thing they need is contact. It's too late to recover from any dramas. They give each other plenty of room. Philsell still alongside. Look at the power of the Commodore. These boys basically break down the front straightaway across the start finish line, breaking into turn one. They're side by side. Philsell retaking the lead, but Burton's not giving up on the exit.
They made contact on the exit of turn one. Down the inside though, Philsell going to get the job done. He does. Philsell back to the point. What a move into turn one. What a defensive drive from Philsell out of sunset. He made sure he stayed on the outside. Oh, here we go. It's on again. Burton looking to the outside into the hairpin.
He's got his work cut out for him. No,
yeah.
He'll try to go to the inside, but no, Philsell's all over that. He goes, no way. If you want me, go around the outside.
Yeah.
But that's not smart. They both know that. They're both playing mind games with each other, but hats off to these guys. Philsell and Burton, they've put on a hell of a show.
And here we go again. It's round number 5, I think. 6 or 7. I don't know. We're on it again. Philsell to the inside. Coming through Fangio turn 9. Now down into turn 10. On the outside. Philsell going to try and run it. Oh, he's giving him room on the exit. He's done a good job. And he's going to get it up again. What a move. Better traction. Was able to hold Philsell in tight. Goes a little bit defensive.
Oh, he's got the job done. The crossover. Well done. Jared Philsell getting the job done on Burton.
What a move, the switchback, and he's moved himself up back into P number 1. Now Burton, is he going to have a look? There, nose to tail. Philsell defends the position into the lock. Now it's again back up to sunset.
He's going to dive.
He's going to
making the
dive.
dive. Oh, but this will work for Philsell. He'll try the crossover. Didn't quite clear him. He couldn't get to the throttle quick enough, so he had to check up. Unfortunately, caught the back of Burton's car, and that's benefited Burton big time.
Well, he's got the job done now, and Philsell won't have enough of a draft to get him to have a look down into sunset. So now, end of lap 39, we're on lap 40. You'd think this is the last lap. We've still got another 5 laps to go. So these boys are still going to be battling as we've got another battle pack, but there's battles everywhere. Brad Bryan, Tom Freer. Will Freer have a look down into the final corner here? But as I say that, right out sideways off that curve where everyone seems to be getting sideways on, and now he's going to lose that draft.
Think about battles all the way through the field. We spoke about that last step on the podium. These CTR guys are slowly starting to pull in this margin between Burton and Philsell because they know that these guys are fighting. They're giving enough track time and they are slowly making margin, and they're just going line astern to take on the battle and hopefully be in their end and be there at the end and clear up what challenge that they may have if Burton and Philsell slow each other up too much.
That's exactly right, and if they just keep chipping away, as we look at that replay of Freya sideways out behind, got the car well held, but Warren, Myers and Anderson, they're able to do it. And as we go back to this battle, Freya to the inside of Brad Ryan, down. He's going to hold it. They're giving each other room, both Mustangs, and going to get himself cleared. Freya, job done as he goes around the big bend, turn number 6.
Well done, boys. That was a brilliant battle to watch. Great driving by Freya, but plenty of give and take as we see throughout the race. Look at Burton. He's trying to cover Phil Sells all over him. That Boost Mobile Commodore is all over the back of Burton. He knows he's got his work cut out for it. They're in the dying stages, but again, it's going to come down to the last corner.
They are back on it again, and here we go. How are these guys going to sort this one out for the end? I don't think they're going to have any other words to say after this race. They're going to be on it. And let's see, Phil Sell, is he going to set himself up out of Le Mans? He just needs to get the run down in the sunset. He's done a good enough job. Then Warren, Myers, and Anderson, they are slowly closing in, like you said, and they're still closing in. Now let's see what they're going to do. I think Myers might be close enough to have a look at Warren.
I think if they're smart, they'll just try and race line astern. They know they're slowly catching up to this battle, and what they want is these guys to battle a lot harder, so they close up that margin without even trying. So that's what they'll be focused on. They know they're in a good position for the start of the series. 3rd, 4th, 5th out of the TTR battle, that's not too bad, but their focus is on the battle that's up front. They want these guys with the Phil Cell. Thinks about the move to the inside, makes Burton look in his mirrors, but he wants, or TTR want these guys to battle it out so they can pull themselves into the battle.
He had a massive look in the turn 1. You got to think as well, Hampstead's in 6th position, another TTR car, so they've locked down those positions with Ethan behind, Maloney in 8th with behind them, and Burke in 9th, and Gilliam just inside the top 10. That's Gardner's just floating on the outside right now in a good position. They've sort of dropped back. Hobson is in a bit of no man's land at the moment, which I don't think he'll mind coming away with a P12 at the moment, but out in front, it is still on between Burton and Phil Sell. And look at these two. It's just crazy to think we've done 41 laps with all the little bit of pit stop strategy that we've been talking about, and now these two are still fighting like this towards the end.
Absolutely nothing between them. Forget what the stopwatch says. We keep saying it. It's now down to these guys. What have they got left in reserve in the tank that they know that they can fight with each other? They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. They can see each other's cars moving around a little bit under brakes. And it's all about crucial exit speed and carrying that draft into the final turn. That's probably where it's going to be won and lost. But is it going to be too late to do it on the last lap?
I think it will be a last lap pass. I was just thinking about that. I think it could be last lap, which is crazy to think, but there is that opportunity that these guys could just, if you get a good enough run down here, down into sunset, it's such a long corner, there's so many different undulations to the bump. Yeah, Bert knows that Phil Sell, just look at the run, even that far back, Phil Sell's still got a bit of a run that he can try and have a tap. A little bit too far back this time around, but he can sort of just gauge how close he needs to be, figure out where he needs to be to make that crucial overtake. It could be the last lap, it could be the second to last lap, but now he needs to just focus on where he can get that job done.
So lap 42 of 44 for round 1 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. The build-up for this has been in the making. It's been unbelievable. So much talk around town about this new series. People who have missed out that are desperate to get in. They can see what sort of racing it's producing, and now is the proof in the pudding. A great battle between these two guys. Burton and Phil Sell battling it out in the dying stages. It's been close all night, and Phil Sell lost a little bit out there.
Yeah, that was a mistake from Phil, so I think he got a little bit of an exit, a little bit oversteer. Now he's got to try and gain that time back. He's got enough time to do it. As we look back further in the pack, Ian Forge on McNamara looking to the inside into turn number 1. He could get this job done. And as we say that, back to the battle for 3rd, that's Myers. Myers, job done, past Warren. Now Anderson, he's going to be alongside Warren too. He might be able to have a look and try and take 4th away.
I wasn't sure if he had that damage up the side of that TTR Commodore earlier, but he has got damage up there now, whether that's new or not. Sorry, I didn't catch that, but he has dropped back a couple of positions. You can see the damage down the left side, but still not a bad position, though, to still be in touch with the top 5. That's brilliant.
Yeah, as we look at a replay, and this is the battle between Ian Ford, Sean McNamara. There's Jordan Ross in the background having a look, and a little bit of side-by-side through number 3, and they're still side-by-side coming into 4 and 5. Jordan Ross is there, maybe gave a little bit of helping hand to Ethan Griggold to try and say, come on, let's go, I want to get the job done too. So good battling further down in the pack. As we look back to this battle for P number 3, as Myers in front of Anderson, in front of Warren, as we look further back at Burke. right up behind, I believe that's Jake Maloney with Andrew Gillian behind it. Here we go. Oh,
He's got his work. Around the outside, Phil Sell's got his work for him there. He'll try the over and under. Can he cut it in? Doesn't want to be too hard on the throttle. Side by side. No, I thought he was going to make a move there. Didn't quite. You can see how much the cars wiggle. He's going to think about it. He's going to go around the outside. It's a long way. Does he want to try and make that mistake? Or go around the outside? He doesn't want to get towards where the exit is because there's dirt in the over and under. Burton was all over that. He saw the over and under was coming.
He just said, okay, you want over and under? I'm just going to defend that whole position. That's not yours. Wow.
Taking up mid-corner.
Yeah, just let off the throttle. I'm not going to put my throttle down. I'll just put it right here, park the bus, right in the middle of the apex. And now he's going to make Phil Sell work. Is he going to go defensive again down into the hairpin? He has to. As a replay of that vision on board with Jared Philson. And as you see in the turn one, it was just block done.
Yep.
Oh, they made contact into the hairpin. Phil Sell is all over the back of Burton, and he is not giving an inch.
Yeah, I thought he was going to try the over and under. Look at him now. He'll think about the inside. Burton will cover, so Phil Sell's going to have a look at the outside. Will he try the over and under again? Burton's going to know. Oh, was there contact again? A beautiful fake. A dive up the inside, and that's a lead for Burton. No, Burton's going to hold on. Phil Sell sideways.
What a move from Phil Sell. He wasn't able to pull it off, but wow. That is what you call. He's pushing Burton through the corner. Phil Sell is on it. He is not going to let this down. 2 to go. 1.5 laps to go technically now. But this is bringing the other guys back into it. If these guys keep fighting like this, we could have all of them in the scrap. It's only 2.8 to the guys behind.
Unbelievable stuff. The dying stages of round one here. Phil Sell's going to try the over and under. Look at that pace. Mid-corner exit pace was awesome. Just couldn't quite get the job done. They know the pressure's on now. Coming up to the final lap. Who will be your winner? Coming into the last lap. I can't even pick it. It's too close to call.
It is way too close to call. Oh, we got Maloney's off. Maloney, who was inside the top 10, I think that must have been contact with Burke, because Burke's trying to slow down. Burke's trying to redress that position, so there would have been contact between those two. But the leading battle, Burton and Phil Sell. Last lap of the race starting now. White flag in Barney's land as we move into turn one. Phil Sell look to the outside. Going to try over and under again. I'm sure Burton's going to block that position again, but I think he thought about going to the outside, then decided, but he goes.
He's got it. He's darted up the inside, side by side contact, a little bit of Rubbins racing. Nothing wrong with that as these cars bounce over the curbs. Side by side, they know it's the dying stages. Off onto the dirt. These guys aren't giving an inch. They know it's the final lap. It's all going to come down to this one.
They're still door bagging down the look at Myers. Myers and Anderson are back in this race. Burton's still in the race lead. Look at Phil Sell now trying to set up another over and under. He's going to get it. Oh, he got a little bit of a worse exit than Burton. What was that? There's now nothing between these two and the guys behind. It is on Sandman.
Yeah,
They're not
look for
giving
Phil Sell.
Here goes Phil Sell again, outside.
No, he can't do it. He tried to do the over and under cross, but Burton knew. It looks like a little bit of damage to that Boost Mobile Commodore. That might hurt him a little bit. Only half a lap to go. It's bringing the TTR cars into this battle. We didn't pick it. There was a 4-second gap. These guys battling. It looks like he's up the inside. He's going to hold on. Phil Sell gets the job done. He's not giving up. Burton won't give an inch. TTR looking to pounce. It's all coming down to the final corners.
Here we go, side by side as we come down into Lamar. And Burton's got the cover, dives it down the inside to block the run. Phil Sell's run.
Oh, look at him. He's in position.
Myers.
Myers is picking up the paces. He's going to try the over and under. Anderson. It's 4 cars coming to the final corner.
What is this? There's contact on Myers might have this. He's got the run on Burton. What is this?
Someone needs to go to the outside to try the over and under.
Yep.
Oh, the pressure's on Burton. He's trying to hold on all race long. The TTR cars are right there. Myers going to try the inside. Anderson may block it, but it looks like Burton's going to hold on. He's going to take out an incredible victory here for the opening round of the Logitech 2 Invitational.
He ran out of fuel.
Oh, he's out.
He ran out of fuel. Myers.
Hold it for a while and he didn't take it.
Myers takes it.
Unbelievable! Hollywood couldn't script it. Hollywood couldn't script it.
What is this? What just happened? Myers just won the opening race of the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational Oh my god, that did not help my throat after being sick.
I cannot believe what I've just witnessed. I called Burton out of the final corner. I thought he got the job done.
He ran out of fuel.
Look at the margin. You can see him starting to wiggle the car. He's trying to get whatever fuel's left in the tank.
Oh.
Look at the margin. Who would have picked it right there? If you paused it, there's no way that you would have said Burton was going to lose that race. No way. Oh, look at the margin. He tried to defend. He just couldn't. He went from first to fourth.
Oh,
First to fourth. Unbelievable. Wow. That will go down in the history books for Brady Myers. What a win for TTR. These guys took it to them. They let the guys battle it out. And oh my God, Burton didn't even get a podium. Unbelievable.
how he didn't get a podium.
That's heartbreak, mate. Absolute heartbreak.
I feel for Burton. He drove. Him and Phil Sell, hats off.
Man of the match. Those guys.
Brilliant.
Brilliant stuff. But then, oh my God. I am speechless, mate. I called Burton out of the final call to the checker. I thought he had it. Clearly he had it. And then he just ran out of fuel. And Myers is like, are you kidding me? How good is this?
I thought he had it, and then Myers is like, oh, okay, I'll take this one. I'm not going to say no. Bye. I'll take the win.
Unbelievable.
Wow. It's going to take up.
Jake, this is round one. This is round one of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. What are we in for? This is going to be an absolutely amazing series. If round one is anything to go by, hold on to your hats. There's no way I'm going to have a voice left at the end of the series.
We're going to have no voice after round like 3 or 4. This is going to be insane. That was round one, guys. Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational has set the standard from there. That's the standard we're saying from round one. I don't even know where to go, but Brady Myers takes the win for Trans-Tasman Racing with the more fuel in the tank. I don't know how that's just crazy. Top 5 separated by half a second. Half a second. Top 5.
Put that in the history books. Put that in the history books. That is brilliant.
Run through the rest of your results. Brady Myers takes the win. Josh Anderson in second. Jared Philsell comes away with third after an immense battle with Jake Burton, who runs out of fuel. Jake, half a litre, that was it. Oh, he would have had it, but what a battle between him and Philsell, one for the ages. That was stunning between those two. Ethan Warren comes home in 5th, who just, if he was in that position, he may have had it. But Hampstead, 6th, Ethan Grigol, Andrew Gilliam, Griffin Gardner, and Jake Maloney round out the top 10. Then it's just a synergy bunch from 11th on through to 15. Wayne Burke, Brenton Hobson, Luke Rosella, Jack Boyd, Tom Freer, Brad Ryan, Blake Warboy, Sean McNamara round out the top 18 with Kurt Stenberg and Luke Mitchison inside the top 20. Chris Coxhead, Brett Loxton, Marcelo Rivera, Jordan Ross and Ian Ford inside the top 25 as we run through the rest of this field. Kobe Jones, Todd Hayne, Hayden Harrison, Rainer Costello, Ben Smith, Sebastian Flock, Adam Hayne, Lee Ellis, Greg Favell, Jamie Dyke, Brody Kostecki unable to finish this race down in 36. The only person not finishing that race, mind you, Sandman, everyone else finished the race on the lead lap. That is insane.
Unbelievable. I am going to watch this so many times. Like that last lap was unbelievable. Check this out.
With Brady Myers, contact with Anderson there, and then he's like, oh, fuel, bang.
Oh. Imagine what was going through his mind. He's like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
Like, I still can't believe what we've just witnessed for round one.
That is actually crazy to think of what we just witnessed for the opening round of the championship.
Look at that margin. I mean, you look at that and you think, definitely, he's got it in the bag. Burton's got to win. What a great drive. Well done. Then all of a sudden, it starts coughing. Brady's like, you kidding me? He tries to get to the inside. Burton's trying his hardest to block. He's doing his best, but then he's got 2 more others behind him as well. He's trying desperately to hold on. Look at that finish.
Wow.
Half a second for those top 5 cars after 44 laps.
That is what you call one of the races for the ages, I think. I think we haven't seen something that close in a long supercar land. I don't think ever.
It's unbelievable. I tell you what, I feel almost silly that I called Jake Burton to the win because I thought for sure he had it.
I think I did too. That's why I was like, yeah. And then I saw him run out. I went, hold on, he's run out.
Wow.
Myers.
Unbelievable.
And as we say that, we'll bring Brady Myers in to congratulate him as we start our post-race interview. Sam, man, would you like to take away with this one? Because I think,
Brady, there's not too many times I think I've been speechless in my comms career, but that is one for the ages. What was it like in the driver's seat, coming down that back straight? What were you thinking? And talk us through how all that unfolded to the checkered flag.
Oh, look, I was just focusing on Ando behind. I knew he was good for fuel, so he was coming at me at a rate of knots, and then I look up and all of a sudden I'm in Jared and Jake's boot. So that was very exciting. Far out. I can't believe that.
We are just as shocked. I mean, I called Jake Burton for the win coming out of that final turn. And then all of a sudden to see him cough and then you go around him. I mean, we were dumbfounded. We had no idea that Burton was that close on fuel. How was it for you? Were you that close, or did you think he may have been in that position?
Oh, I was very close. I played my...
Oh, we're just having a couple of technical issues. I think he's so excited. His internet may have dropped out, but
sorry.
Yeah, here he is. He's back.
Yeah, sorry. I played my cards very close to my chest, and that last stint, but it was even a bit short, so I had to play it safe behind Ethan and Ando for a bit. But yeah, just crazy end to the race.
Mate, hats off to you. Congratulations. This has got to be up there with one of your best wins, surely.
Oh, it is. I haven't had a few, but this is definitely one of the best ones. Best way to kick off the series, best way to kick off the new series for everyone. Oh, it's mega. Can't believe it.
Well, before we let you go and celebrate with your team and everything else, is there anyone else you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just a massive shout out to everyone at TTR. Feel bad for Mad this round, not being able to join because of the power outage, but yeah, just big ups to everyone at Tasman. We worked hard on the set this week. We went forwards, backwards, and up and around, and finally came up with something good. To my personal sponsor, Extra Motor Trimming, what an awesome way to kick the account off. To Virtual Racing School, to Card Effects, to Tim at TP Race Design, to you guys for the broadcast. I'm speechless.
Mate, soak it up, enjoy it. Thanks so much for taking some time out to talk to us, and we can't wait to see you for round 2. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Can't wait for round 2. Bring it on.
All right, Jake, we've got the rest of the team here that have joined us, the podium sitters. I'll let you go because I'll tell you what, I need a second for my voice to recover.
Yeah, I think I need a week for mine to recover with the way I've been the last couple of days, but I'm going to be here with Josh Anderson coming home in P2. And Josh, what a drive in that cool drive Mustang. Just played your cards right as well, like with Brady Myers, sat there when you needed to. You had a good first stint, and then played yourself right into the position where you needed to be.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I agree, to be honest. I felt like I didn't really have the pace all night. And then I didn't take enough fuel in my last stop, which is just a mistake on my end. So that meant I had to minus 100 fuel save. So I had to drop behind Ethan and Brady, and then yeah, so I would have much preferred to be in front of them when all the shenanigans happened, but I'm really annoyed at myself, to be honest. So, but it is what it is. We it was pretty exciting. I'm sure the people that were watching the broadcast would have definitely enjoyed it. My dad did. He came in and was very excited. So but yeah, it was a good opening round. I definitely want to work a bit harder on my driving in the next one because I just drove like crap all night, really. But so we'll see how we go at Winton.
Well, it definitely didn't look like you drove like crap all night. If I could drive like that, it'd be half decent. But it is what it is. So, but again, it's. Did you think anything of it when you're in that train with Myers and obviously Ethan Warren just chilling there? Did you guys think that you had a shot at maybe getting to those two as you could see them battling?
Well, I knew there was, I guess, history between those two, and so I knew it was going to be on. And to be honest, I was expecting the race to finish with either one of them in the fence, but it didn't happen. But so I just thought, let's just stay alive, not because I know Ethan and Brady started battling a bit, and I was like, let's just keep it single file and wait and see what happens. And then once the last few laps started, and then they're losing 2 or 3 seconds a lap, I was just sort of trying to drive with my eyes up and watch what was going on. I didn't really expect the last lap to play out the way it did, though. I thought I was too far. I was really content to finish, I suppose, 4th. But yeah, we definitely got lucky, and especially with Burton at the end. That was, he said that he had more than enough fuel to finish the race on the last lap, so that was just, he obviously burnt way more than he expected on the last lap. But it was unlucky for him, and I guess lucky for us. But yeah, like the last few corners with bumping, and that's proper touring car racing. That's awesome. And it's good because everyone, while we race hard, it's exciting when you can get away with that kind of contact, and it's a credit to the iRacing netcode system, really, because most other games you'd be in the next postcode.
Yeah, it was one of those races I think we're all going to keep talking about for quite a while, especially with the way that everyone was battling. Those two out in front, Burton and Phil Sell, were just hats off. They were battling like crazy for the entire race, so that was...
Yeah, those two had
ridiculous speed.
They deserved, they were way faster than us. At one point I was basically losing half a second a lap to Jared, which is pretty pathetic, really, but that's the way the race unfolded. We got lucky, really, and but you have to make your own luck, I suppose, at some point.
It is a bit like that, especially in touring car racing. But congratulations, Josh, on coming home in P number 2. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to? Anyone you'd like to give thanks for the team for your hard work?
Yeah. So firstly, the team. Trent Tasman Racing. We put in a lot of work this week. Everyone really was, from all 9 of us in the series, were on trying to improve the car, trying to improve each other, which is what we spend a lot of time. I'm really gutted for Madison tonight because I know he was crazy fast. He was the fastest one of us, and I think he would have been absolutely in the battle. But he had a power outage at like 6 p.m, so that's incredibly unlucky. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can say is for that is I feel really sorry for him. But other than that, yeah, thanks to everyone at TTR. Thanks to Cool Drive Auto Parts. It's pretty cool that they like having the car in the sim as well as in the Aussie cars in the real world. So hopefully, that I think the car looks really good. Yours truly actually did delivery for me, which is, you did a mega job, so thank you. But yeah, I definitely want to thank them and thank all the other, Prenzo, which also helped me out in Aussie racing cars and as well. So thanks to them, and then thanks to you guys putting on the series. It's I think it's gonna be a really good series. I'm definitely keen to for Winton in a few weeks, and I'm actually really looking forward to watching back the broadcast.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what else, and you're more than welcome for the livery, and hopefully we'll get to see that more up near the front at Winton. I think that's going to be epic. Man, you're going to be now joining us with none other than one of the piece de resistance of this whole race, Jared Filsell, who had an immense battle with Burton.
Mate, Jared, I don't know what to say. I mean, you look at the margin between you guys for the top 5, it's just ridiculous. The strategy, the race between you and Jake was just brilliant to watch all night, and that margin after that last pit stop, we almost kind of thought it was in the bag. But tell us how that played out after that last pit stop and of course the last dying laps.
Yeah, that was a pretty good race, wasn't it? It was good fun. Yeah, I came out with a bit of a gap. I think that was more or less just a bit of undercut benefit with the tyre. Being Jake's previous teammate, I do know he likes to cut it close or sometimes be in the negative with the fuel, so I did suspect that he would have done that this race, and yeah, it came true. And yeah, unfortunately, yeah, I mean, it was a good race, but unfortunately we didn't really finish where we wanted to, but nonetheless, we kind of did it to ourselves, really. We just battled way too hard. I was just trying to make him use as much fuel as he could because I knew it was going to be really tight. I thought he was home and hosed with his fuel at the end there, so I was quite surprised to see him cough at the line there, which is a little bit unlucky for him.
Mate, absolutely. I called it as he's the winner. I didn't expect him to run out of fuel and then just couldn't believe how it unfolded. But we're just watching some of the battles between you and Jake, the side-by-side, you guys getting into each other a little bit. Yes, there was some bumping and racing, but it was good, hard battling. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't shove you off the road. It wasn't stick you off into the weeds just so you can take the win. It was really good, hard side-by-side racing.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we want to do when we jump on and pretend to be real life race car drivers. But no, there's a few interesting contacts there where we kind of just got held up on each other, and yeah, just a few weird little just iRacing bug things. But no, all the other contacts were all fair. We didn't have each other off or anything like that. It was just rubbing doors, rubbing panels, rubbing's racing.
So you're obviously happy. Happy with a decent result. You're probably disappointed that the win got away, but how do you put this behind you and look forward to Winton? What's the next step for you?
Winton, yeah, haven't really done many laps there since it's been released, so I'll probably have to get on the horse there and see where we end up. That'll be much of a qualifying track, that one. I don't suspect anything crazy going on there with any of the amount of action that we had tonight, that's for sure. But you never know.
Mate, well done. And before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank? Because it was a hell of a race tonight and a cracker for the opening of the season.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Boost Mobile, obviously their ongoing support of myself, Erebus Motorsport, as well as Brody. He had minimal seat time this week due to real life commitments, so I'd like to thank him for tuning something up, at least raceable, as well as the guys at SSR. They've been working tirelessly throughout the week, working on themselves as well as the setup, but yeah, I can't thank those guys enough, as well as MVP Nath Kaiser for the spotting tonight. Always a pleasure.
Well, keep your chin up, mate. You got a lot to be proud of. That was a brilliant race. This one might have got away, but mate, hard charge at Winton, and we can't wait to see you for round 2.
No worries, mate. Thank you.
There you go, Jake. We've spoken to the top 3, and now the heartache of tonight. Unbelievable stuff, Jake. I can't even begin to think of what's going through your mind and how you're feeling. What an unbelievable battle between you and Jared. We touched on that with chatting to Jared, but mate, tell us what you're feeling right now. Obviously, you'd be a little bit heartbroken, and just what happened and how did that play out for that last lap for you?
Honestly, Sam, I'm on a bit of a high, mate. Like, I'm obviously cut. I lost that race. I feel like, had it not been for the fuel, I thought I'd got there. Like, I come off the last corner, I'm like, yep, nothing in front of me. Brady's mucked it up. It's my race, and then all of a sudden it coughed, and I honestly wasn't expecting it. You guys all say you didn't expect it, but I didn't expect it either. I'd been burning about 4.6 litres a lap in that whole race, pretty much. And going into the last lap, I had 4.85. So I think, honestly, just all the mucking around and like all that sort of stuff that we were doing on that lap just ate up my tank that I had left. And yeah, that just killed me. So bit of a shame, but nonetheless, that was probably one of the most awesome races I've ever had. That was, as I say, I'm cut that I lost, but I'm on a high after that. That was awesome.
Mate, we can almost hear your smile in your voice because, obviously it's a tough one to lose, but mate, if it makes you feel any better, I actually called it out of the last corner. I said, Jake Burton's taken the first round, and it's like, no, like we just couldn't believe how it unfolded, but have the top 5 for half a second after 44 laps, and credit to you and Jared, that racing up the front, you guys were putting on a mega show.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Jared and I put on a few shows before, but it was nice to have one where one of us wasn't in the fence or one of us wasn't missing a boot lid. So massive respect to Jared for that, because there are a few times where I could hear outside suicide in my brain, and I knew he would have fed me wide, but he didn't. He gave me just enough room, so that was really sick. It was awesome to have a proper fight with him. Yeah, as I say, it's a bit of a shame because I think one of us probably were the quicker cars. I actually think Jared probably had an extra maybe half tenth over me, and then we had 2 or 3 over the others. So bit of a shame, but nonetheless, what an awesome start.
Absolutely, you talk about that, a lot to be proud of after that first race, and although you missed out on a podium, it does put you in a good stride for the start of the season. It's always good to open up the first round of a championship and have a decent bank of points in the kitty.
Yeah, that's it. Obviously, we would have liked a few more, but ultimately, in a championship that has no drop rounds, it's you'll take a 4th over a DNF or an outside the top 10 any day. So championship's still well and truly alive, and yeah, really looking forward to Winton.
Well, before we let you go, mate, congratulations, well done. Commiserations at the same time, but obviously there'll be a few people you'd like to thank. Fire away.
Yeah, of course. Just a huge shout out to Virtual Racing School. Obviously, their support has been going for a few years now. Really, really thankful to them, as well as Next Level Racing. This year, I've debuted in a new cockpit with them, and it's unbelievable. It's made a massive, massive change for me. And of course, Vendaval Sim Racing, notably to Griffin and Alex. Griffin obviously had a solid night tonight in the top 10, but Alex was calling the shots in terms of strategy. Thinking back to V8 Scops actually at Montreal. I had a bit of a moment where Jared overcut me and then beat me on fuel, and I sort of feel like we did the opposite this time round, and I got to thank Alex for that. So huge thanks to those guys.
Well, thanks for joining us, mate. Good luck for the rest of the season. Well done on tonight, and we look forward to chatting to you at Winton Motor Raceway, mate, and all the best for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thanks, mate. And thanks to everyone for putting this on. It's been awesome, and it is nothing better than hearing you back in the comms box there, man.
You're too kind. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Well, there you go, Jake. I think we've been pretty spoilt for round one. What an amazing race. Who would have thought the top 5 finishing within half a second?
I think that is the underline of tonight, the top 5 within half a second, and I don't think we could have put a script on that, however hard we tried to do that, Sam, and I don't think we could have. That was unbelievable racing for the first round of the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational. From everyone, from the whole field, there were so many battles, but Phil Sell and Burton put on a show, and for Myers to be like, yep, mine, thank you, is just, that was unbelievable.
Look at that.
That is something you see at Talladega or Daytona. Yet we're here in Sebring, Florida.
So much to be proud of.
There is so much to talk about as well about this one, but we're running a little bit out of time here. But a massive congratulations to everyone that ran out today with the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational. Any closing words from you, Sam, man, before we look towards Winton at the start of the next month?
Mate, just a huge shout out. Thanks to you, Jake, for all your work in the comms box. Thanks to Luke behind the scenes, everyone who's put this series together. Huge thanks to Logitech G. Mate, we are in for an absolute cracker of a season. And round 2, we head to Kelly Country. Can't wait.
Yeah, round 2, you'll be able to catch us all here live again for round 2 of the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational from the 1st of the next month, same time, and we'll be at Winton International Raceway. And again, I can't wait for that one. I can't wait to see what after tonight, who knows what Winton's going to throw up, and anyone can know. But again, massive thank you to you, Sandman, for joining me, Stephen Sandman Clark, once again in the commentary booth. It has been my honour to be here, to be able to commentate alongside you. Luke in the background doing all the broadcast work has done an amazing job to set this up, and I can't wait to see how much further we bring this into the rest of this championship. But I am Jake Blackhall. That's going to close us out here for the opening round of the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational. Your winner, Brady Myers for Trans-Tasman Racing. And I can't wait to see what Winton's going to hold.
Well, what a race. A great way to start what is going to be an absolutely enthralling series. Be sure to catch up with all the stories from this round on our Facebook and webpage. And of course, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be debuting our podcast, so keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, we're all getting ready to head to Northeast Victoria, right in the heart of Kelly Country, as we prepare for Winton Motor Raceway on the 1st of June. It's a much shorter and tighter track, which no doubt will present its own challenges, but it will be a very entertaining event. It's been such a huge effort to get all this together, so thank you everyone and all the officials, of course our sponsors, in helping us bring all of this to you. I'm Priya Richards, and you have been watching the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series.